The Bandit Racing League returns for Season 11's opener at Daytona International Speedway. How are you going to win this big race? Well, if you're a driver, you'll want to make sure you're getting good pit stops from the crew behind the wall. You're going to want to avoid the big one. Try to stay alert out there. Try to stay on the racetrack. That grass isn't doing you any favors. Stay in the slipstream. Utilize your teammates to the best of your advantage. Again, keep your eyes moving. Always try to be aware of the crashes up front, or else you'll end up like this guy. You're going to want to make sure you don't make the small mistakes. Find your pit box. Be a busy beaver. Keep your hands always moving there on the wheel. Don't be pompous in the post-race interview. Maybe, just maybe, you'll be the winner at Daytona. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bandit Racing League Season 11 and our season opener at Daytona International Speedway. We are back. It was a long off season, or at least it felt like it, because we have been devoid of our racing action that we've been so craving, at least I've been so craving, for so long at this point. But guys, we are back here for the Geezer Authentic 75 at virtual Daytona International Speedway. We are here on iRacing, we are here for 75 laps, and we are ready to kick off another season of the Bandit Racing League. Hi everybody, it is as always your host, Mr. Marshall Crocker Jr., and I can't wait to be back. New setup, as you can see, we got the single light behind me here. We're going to hope to utilize it a bit over the course of this season. Maybe we'll see if I can throw a green color on here to add some theming for the start of the race here, but no, I'm so excited genuinely to be back. That doesn't show up as green, that shows up as a weird color. So we'll keep it to white for now to not confuse the camera. But yes, folks, we are here, and this is the biggest one of the season. The same way that for NASCAR you start off and you immediately go into the Daytona 500. Here in the Bandit Racing League, we start off with what has come to be known in the last 3 seasons as the Geezer Authentic 75 at Daytona. And you can see above my head, scrolling as we speak, is the current practice results. So Nick Nickerson, defending series champion, is currently your leader in qualifying or in practice, pre-qualifying. And I can honestly tell you that qualifying here at Daytona means less than any other qualifying session all year. This is a race that's going to be about some very key skills related to racecraft. It's going to be about slipstreaming. It's going to be about pack racing, team utilization, all of those important things. And we will talk plenty about that throughout the rest of the broadcast and the rest of your intro here. We got a few minutes, as you can see, 7 minutes above my head until qualifying starts for tonight's race in our season opener. But again, I'm so excited to be back, everybody. Welcome, everybody. If you have anything you want to put in the chat, as always here, we like to think this is a family. We like to make this a community. And Chris and I, who will be here in a moment, Chris Ferreira, who will be joining me on commentary all season throughout Season 11 of the Bandit Racing League. That's right, folks. We have a full-time commentator, a full-time killer guy. We're going to be a two-man operation here all season. But yeah, first we just want to get you guys going in the chat. We want to talk to you guys, and I see Shake and Bake. Everybody's in there. Everybody's pumped, and that's what I like to see. So we will get your racing action here in just a moment. First, for a little bit of context, while we wait for Chris, who's just finishing up some business, we are going to, first of all, thank our many partners of the series. Right off the top, I want to get it made very clear who helps put us on, or who helps put on these great broadcasts each and every week. We're going to go through the list here. iRacing, obviously, the sim we run on. The Bandit Racing League is the series we're known as. Apex Sim Racing, huge partner of the series. They're going to be taking over for some of our pre-race festivities this season as the official race sponsor. So if you want anything related to sim racing, that's accessories to help you be a better driver. That's button boxes, wheelbases, pedal decks, anything you need to get started on the sim and come potentially join us in the Bandit Racing League. That is where we would suggest you go. Use code BANDIT for 5% off your purchase, or the link in the description down below, and you'll get that 5% off discount. Perfect Shine Auto Spa, as always, on behalf of Kevin Foster and GFR Racing, thank you to Perfect Shine Auto Spa for everything they provide to the series. They will still be a huge partner this year. Track Hamster Gourmets, they help us put this whole thing on, and they provide us the awesome camera angles, like the one you see right now, as Curtis Yancey in the 51 car passes the back of your screen, as well as Evan Wall Media. He has made in the past all of the graphics that we use here on the broadcast, and will be providing us some new ones over the rest of the year as well. We got Moser Racing joining on this season, so welcome to them and everything they will provide for the series. We'll obviously talk way more about them the rest of the year. SimRacerHub.com, unfortunately the commercial pre-race had some issues, but SimRacerHub.com is your place for the Bandit Racing League and our official points, which we'll talk about in just a moment here with the website. Geezer Authentics is your sponsor for tonight's race. That is our merch supplier for all things Bandit Racing League. If you want to get a shirt for your favorite driver, like a Cody Welch, like a Nick Nickerson, like a Kevin Foster, that is where you go. GeezerAuthentics.com, and again, we will talk plenty more about them later. And Butt Kicker is our new sponsor this season, signing on for season number 11 of the Bandit Racing League. We are so happy to have them here. Some really, really cool products, essentially base shakers you can add to your racing rig to give you some that extra bit of rumble, that vibration to help make it feel like a real car. I use them personally in my rig. My father's rig uses them underneath his pedals to add a little bit of real-life rumble and vibration there. So really cool product, really cool stuff, and we're really glad that they can sign on with us this season. We're so excited to get going, and we'll check in here because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we have our color commentator, our guy, Mr. Chris Ferreira in the broadcast booth. Chris, welcome back for season number 11. Are you ready to get going?
Ready or what? It's been a long break, as you already alluded to, and I'm so excited to be back. Such a great place to kick it off, Daytona, like we do every year. Man, the excitement is just insane. I can't wait to get after it tonight.
It's through the roof, and Daytona, such a fun race. If you guys remember back to last season, that finish in season 10's opening race, Mark Allen Bivens winning his first career race in the Bandit Racing League, what almost became the first of two. He almost won the other super speedway race on the season. Mark Allen has just been so good at these super speedways all throughout the course of even the last 3 years. One of the youngest drivers in the series, of course, last year's Most Improved Driver Award winner, and was awarded with the trophy for that. But I think he's going to be somebody to watch again this year. But that was definitely one of my favorite finishes I've ever called. So I know today has a lot to live up to in that regard. Very quickly, before we get onto this race, we start focusing on tonight at Daytona and all that entails. We want to take a quick look back at last season. For those of you, maybe this is your first time joining us in the Bandit Racing League, you want to know what we're all about? Well, there are your results from all of last season. In season number 10 of the Bandit Racing League, your champion, as you can see there on the bottom right, was Nick Nickerson. For GFR Racing in the number 2 car, the guy picked up 9 wins on the entire season. Just one of the great years we've ever seen in the Bandit Racing League, perhaps the greatest year. Except, well, he did win 10 races the other season, but you'll come to find out this is what he does. But you see there, Bivens won the first race last season at Daytona, and it took a couple races for Nick to get his win, but then he just piled them up. You'll also notice there names like Benjamin Lacey, like Brett Guzik, like Alec Daffin, all drivers who won multiple races on the season. Lacey and Guzik will return this season and will definitely be big players. So I'm going to go to you, Chris, because for those of you that don't know, Chris Ferreira, of course, aside from being our awesome color commentator, he's been with us up here on the broadcast side for a couple seasons now. He is also a former driver and still a part-time driver. I would say might do some appearances we'll see in the future, but drove that 13 car. And Chris, you've done a number of races here, not just at Daytona, but all the super speedways here in the Bandit Racing League. What kind of skill set do you think it takes to win here? I talked about it in my little intro video you saw there, but what do you think is the crucial elements, the pillars that will build a potential race-winning drive here tonight?
I think when you're coming into a race like Daytona or any super speedway race, you got to have patience. Patience is going to make or break your race. You know, you can go and shoot that gap and try to put somebody 3 wide, or you can really pay for it. So having patience, keeping your car clean, and making sure you're there at the end. It's a little bit of a battle of attrition here tonight. So making sure you have a clean car towards the end, but that all comes down to being patient. You know, a lot of guys want to get up there and lead laps and be up front. For me, my strategy was always to hang around in the back and just kind of ride until we got about 10 laps to go. It never really paid off for me that well. I think I finished second or third here once, but you know, it really just depends on how patient you are. You can stick up front, and that could pay off for you, but it could also be a lot of trouble.
Yeah, that mindset of, you know, where to be in the pack at any given moment is crucial, and I think this race is, as you guys will come to understand tonight, it's a lot more about decision-making than the actual ability to drive the car. You know, it's not particularly difficult at these super speedways to just get that car left, and the easiest thing you could ever do on this sim in a stock car is just take a lap around Daytona by yourself. But it's really the context of the other drivers that makes it so fascinating and kind of makes this race a one-off, except for later in the season when we go to Talladega. But it's a unique beast, and it's why it's become one of the all-time iconic races in NASCAR, not only because it's one of the oldest on any calendar in any series, but because it is just such a fun, dynamic race. Now, 40 seconds to go here until we start qualifying, and as always, we will walk you all the way through and then give you your starting lineup before tonight's season opening race. But I got to ask you as well, Chris, obviously, season 11, we always make changes from the season prior, and one of those changes is to the car. This season, we will be running the Gen 6 Cup car, so the Cup car that prior to last year's Next Gen was the one used by the NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series, and obviously that comes with its own particular challenges and differences in style, and obviously there are different packages that this car runs as far as horsepower and wing design. So, Chris, what do you think the Cup car is going to add to the series this season? What kind of drivers do you think that's going to benefit?
I think this is kind of a little bit of a reset. You know, this is kind of getting back to what everybody's used to. Everybody knows this, are very comfortable with it. The newer Gen 7 car, there's still a lot of unknowns with that. iRacing's been tweaking on it, as NASCAR has in real life. So we wanted to go with something a little bit more familiar, that guys can really kind of do what they want, or kind of play to their own style. You know, there's going to be a lot of different tracks here, as we'll kind of go over at some point during the broadcast. So it's going to make for some exciting racing with all the different packages that this car provides. And I'm really excited for this. This is a season that I was looking forward to, either racing in or broadcasting for. So this is something I'm really excited to see, because you're going to see a lot of guys come up through the field, and they may have not been able to kind of showcase their talent in the previous cars that we've raced before.
Well, here we go. We're getting ready to go for qualifying as drivers now take their way out of the turns 1 and 2, sort of inside pit road exit area, and get onto the backstretch to try to get the best run they can give themselves. You see Keegan Clark there in the 74 car flies by the camera to get ready to go for his first lap. And, you know, it's a long race here, Chris. We're going to go 75 laps. I think qualifying position not entirely crucial, and bonus points definitely quite minimized this season. So how much do you think qualifying result, you know, qualifying up front versus qualifying a little bit further back, do you think there's one that's inherently more advantageous than the other, or do you think it's just kind of, it's just you react to where you start and you try to change your strategy accordingly?
Yeah, I'd go with the latter there. You know, I as much as I want to qualify and pole, it's really tricky here. You know, you can run your best lap, and it may just not quite be enough. It really depends on how you get up through the gears and how you kind of manipulate the car on your out lap to get your really fast lap, your flyer. If I'm starting up front, I'm going to try and keep the car up there for as long as I can until I start seeing things get a little dicey, and then from there I'll kind of see where I want to be. A lot of the times, like I already mentioned, I'm going to fade towards the back and just kind of keep my car safe for the end of it.
The other interesting thing as well is we jump here to Brett Guzik, who we actually have on Skype here. You get to see his live perspective as he just slowly nudges that wheel left there. Just such small movements. Going to go really high here to try to get the maximum run here on to lap number 2. You see the times going up on the left side. Currently Mason Flagar at 49.21, but he will get bumped by Caden Bailey in the number 60, who will be fastest here after the very first lap. And custom numbers and those more fancy number designs here should update by the time the race starts. But right now, you'll see the default schemes. But it's Christopher Hamilton now going to jump up to the top. As again, Chris, just those, or Brett, just those small movements. But I was going to ask you here, because Chris, we have a huge new change here to the system as far as the results of a race win, and that is that this year it is a win in your in-point system as far as the Bandit Racing League playoffs goes. There is a number of races you have to make. You have to attend a certain number of events to have that qualify, but it's a win and you're in again, and that means this race, whoever comes away with the win, points aside, is making it to the playoffs. See, how much of a factor do you think that's going to play in just guys going for crazy moves here at the end of the race, which always creates these iconic superspeedway finishes?
Yeah, this track in particular, that you could start your season off right. You can punch your ticket to the playoffs, and I think that's so important with such a short season. It just adds that little bit of desire to go out there and get that win, and that's what we want to see here in the broadcast booth. That's what I know what the fans want to see at home is drivers trying to do everything they can to win. With the previous point system, you can kind of see guys, I'm content with getting a top 10 today. Now I want to see guys trying to go for the win and doing whatever it takes, and I know that's what the fans want to see too.
100%. And one of those guys who I think we can all agree would be cool to see get a win. We're going to have to make changes to the way his photo is cropped for next week. Obviously, you can't see it, Chris. It is hilariously tucked in the corner of his driver infographic here, but in a way that's kind of funny. It's kind of fitting. Cody's a really fun guy, but Cody Welch, we know he's got a huge support here in the background. He's got a huge fan section here in the Full Send Racing Network broadcast of the Bandit Racing League. But one of the great stories of all time is we see David Lakey has jumped to the top of the board here, a 48.98 for qualifying. He is currently your provisional pole sitter ahead of Brett Guzik on the outside of row number 1. But Cody Welch, who currently sits third, is one of the all-time greats here in the Bandit Racing League, and is currently on a 52 race winless streak as of tonight's race, which is unheard of if you look back to season number 9, where he was incredible. He won 3 races. He was just all the way throughout the season putting up top 5, top 5, top 5. He looked like a championship favorite most of that season. Won 2 out of 3 races. And then suddenly the curse began as we see Benjamin Lacey just pop out, another huge contender this season. Now we're going to go to Kevin Foster, watch him finish up. But yeah, I think one of the most unforeseen winless streaks, not just in this series, but in racing history. And we talk a lot about it here, Chris, because it's so unforeseen, and he comes so close to breaking it so often.
Yeah, Cody's one of those guys that you want to see him win. He's such a likable guy. I want to see him get back to victory lane. I think he will this season. I think this car will, play to his favor a little bit. But I think it's coming. I think that last season he was plagued a little bit by maybe some inconsistencies with his schedule lining up with the league here. But I'm looking forward to him getting back to victory lane, and I think this is a place that he can do it.
I completely agree with you, and maybe tonight will finally be the night. But here we go, folks. Very quickly, we're going to throw up the Apex logo because this is the Apex Sim Racing starting lineup for tonight's race. We are ready to go. There were potential rumblings of a heat race format going on tonight with the number of drivers we have, but no, we are going to forgo that. We're going straight to the feature here. So we will post a quick rundown here of just the overall results from qualifying, but we're going to do a proper run through the grid here, presented by Apex Sim Racing in just a moment. So there are your results for all 43 drivers running tonight's race, and I believe we are about ready to go. Everybody's lined up on the starting grid, so we're going to do our very best to go through here and see if we can get a shot of everybody. But first of all, your pole sitter here for tonight's race, ladies and gentlemen, perhaps his first ever. I am struggling to remember his last, or if any, Bandit Racing League poles, but what a time to get one here for David Lakey. First race of the year, starting off on a high. He starts on the front row for Ignite RC. On the outside of row number 1, Brett Kuzik for BC Sim Sport, second in the championship last year. He was a runner-up. He'd like to get his first this year in a season where his rival Nick Nickerson may not run the full year. Then after that, we got Cody Welch, who is supposedly going to start in third, but I think he's opted to go to the back of the grid, so he is not going to show up on our timing there. That gray entry, the 29 you see, is Joshua McQuiggan. After that, we got Nick Nickerson. To his outside, well, Nick Nickerson, it's obviously important to mention, defending series champion, 2-time now after last season's win in Season 10. Benny Hogan to his outside, followed by Mike Wright, a rookie to the series for Ferreira Esports. On the outside of him, Trey Ellis, a former winner here at Daytona in season number 9. He starts in 8th. Jason Greenwell rolls off in 9th, the man we call the pompous man himself, not because of his character, because of an inside joke. And Hunter Henry will round off the top 10. You want to run us through a couple more here, Chris?
I don't have the graphic up.
Okay, no worries. We will continue, and I think we might have time for about 20 here. So next, we got Connor Gibson, the Canadian, man after my own heart, obviously, fellow Canadian myself. He is, well, formerly 11th, but he may go to the back of the field here. We may only have time to go to 12. So is Matt Crockett. So we are going to cut away here. I think it's better for all of you to just go based on the timing tower, because enough guys appear to have taken EOL penalties. That's an end-of-line penalty to opt to drop to the back of the field, as it does ensure that you will not get wrecked, or at least hopefully not get wrecked on the first lap. Some guys just choose to go in that direction, but here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, the season opener of Bandit Racing League Season 11 at the Geezer Authentic 75. We are green, and David Lakey, Brett Kuzik, take us to the green flag for the first time this season.
Really good start out of Brett Kuzik in that 04 car. See if he can tuck down here in front of the 84 of David. Doesn't quite look like he's going to get it yet, but the bottom line seems to be forming up a little bit better than that top line. They're gonna roll down this backstretch here.
Yeah, not a bad run here for David Lakey, but Brett, I should say, on the outside, already getting a solid run from, that is the number 29 car of Joshua McQuiggan, who's going to go to the point here. Another fellow Canadian. He is going to try to give as much of a push as he can to Brett, and we'll see. It'll be interesting here. Lap 1, Chris, is Brett going to opt for that help from McQuiggan, which he's gotten all the way through lap 1, or the first chance he gets is he going down to that inside line and taking away the run from David Lakey.
Doesn't quite look like he's going to get there, but he is going to lead lap 1. You're going to see these guys kind of stay 2 by 2 here for a little while, but you're going to probably see them settle out and get single file here in a little bit. It's really interesting to think about. These guys have been off for quite some time. I want to see how aggressive they get and how early they get aggressive.
Well, he led the first lap of the season, did Brett Guzik. We will have to see by the end of all 22 races in season number 11 if he leads the last. But now David Lakey back to the front, getting a good push here from Nick. And obviously Nick and Brett, it goes without saying if you've been watching the series for a long enough time here, Chris, but Nick and Brett, two longtime rivals. Not necessarily because they have too many on-track incidents, but just two of the best and brightest we've had in this series in its entirety. So to see the two side-by-side duking it out at the start of a race, certainly not a rarity in this series.
Yeah, there's some of two of the best, but like I was alluding to at the top of the broadcast here, this car is going to be a large equalizer. This car allows for some pretty big runs if you can time it right, which is not quite what you get with the Gen 7 car, with the newer model of car that NASCAR is running. So you're going to see a lot of runs here, and I think that if given the opportunity, Nick is going to put that 04 car behind him.
Looking off the back bumper here of Nick Nickerson, you see the front bumper of the 14 of Mike Wright running his first ever race in the series. Awesome to see him competing up there in the top 5 and looking like a confident fixture there in the front of the field. And of course the Greenville, Kentucky native David Lakey running his 4th ever Bandit Racing League season. Continues to lead the pack, looking comfortable there up front. And we're coming to the finish line, I should say, for the end of lap number 3. So we're getting through it. 75 laps here at Daytona, and if we have a relatively caution-free race, should actually be decently fast. But this last week's practice race, Chris, it was busy. A lot of guys still trying to get up to speed, trying to get comfortable again in these cars, and there were a fair number of incidents. So hopefully we keep that to a minimum tonight. But so far we have, and I think that was kind of the standard we set towards the end of last season of the Bandit Racing League. It was a really clean series. It looked really good, but obviously Daytona is a totally different animal.
Yeah, this track is. When trouble happens, trouble's going to happen. One thing I want to touch on real quick, Cody Welch did seem to have a little bit of an internet issue with the iRacing server, so he has actually started from pit lane. He is currently 1 lap down. Something to keep an eye on is that he is a single car on track. The speeds compared to a single car to being in a pack is so dramatic, is that he does not want to go a 2nd lap down. Right now, he is the lucky dog, so if a caution does fly, he will get his lap back, and he'll be on the same lap as the leaders here. So that's something we want to keep an eye on. Yeah,
Cody Welch starting with adversity. That is certainly not an unfamiliar, aspect of the broadcast here. He's had some really, really unfortunate luck in the past, and to start off his night already on the back foot is not what you were hoping for if you're one of the many Cody Welch fans. But yeah, like Chris just alluded to, the first thing he wants right now is just a caution to ensure he can get back in the lead lap and take a fresh reset. Because again, early on in the race, not a bad thing to be towards the back here.
As we start to see these guys starting to single file out a little bit, as you see Nick Nickerson get to the point here. Top lane is rolling a little bit better with these runs right now, but I do foresee these guys starting to single file out and kind of just coast around, which is bad news for Cody Welch. You want these guys racing and beating and banging to get you in caution, but I'm sure he'll get his lap back here soon.
Yeah, Nick Nickerson now going to be your new race leader there. You saw him go all the way around the outside of David Lakey. Now Mike Wright going to jump out to the outside in the 14 car. He will lead the right side there of the two lines, and Brett Guzik has really dropped back, all the way back there to 12 now, next to his brother, Dawson Guzik. So the two are going to form up there a little bit and see if they can make that Guzik connection work. Obviously, the two teammates of the series. It's the first time that Dawson's going to run a full season in the Bandit Racing League, so effectively a rookie in that regard for the full season. He joined us a lot in the broadcast booth last season, so we'll see if there's a Guzik connection. Oh, goodness, Mike Wright, he's still going. Kevin Foster now is going to be on the inside provisionally of that inside line. He jumped up in front of Nick Nickerson, and now it's Mike Wright, Hunter Henry, and Bill Harkins, the owner and founder of the series, running the top 3 as we see 2 drivers jumping down below the yellow line there. That's Benny Hogan. And I believe the other may have been Chad Elridge, who tucks back in line. So a couple guys there just, again, opting, Chris, to go straight to the back. They don't want any part of the front of this pack. And as we see, again, 3 new faces, Wright, Henry, and Harkins. We'll see if that benefits them, because it's never a bad thing to be in front of the wrecks that happen rather than behind them.
Absolutely. You always want to be up front if you can. You know, the safest place to be is up front, away from all the wrecks. But we're kind of seeing the shifting back and forth. It looks like the top line was a little bit more organized. Now the bottom line is getting a little bit more organized. That is going to be a shift that we're going to see all race long. As we were touching on, we saw Brett fall back to the back. I think that was kind of planned due to trying to find his brother Dawson there. We have a little bit of a shakeup in our alliances here with our race teams. We'll probably touch on that a little bit later in the season and as we go throughout the season on who is on what team. But these guys are going to be working together throughout the entire season, and this is a place where you need a friend.
Yeah, no doubt about that whatsoever. Speaking of teams here, we're starting to see a team connection forming up already. Kevin Foster here, you see driver of the number 8 car for GFR Racing. And GFR is a team name you're going to become very familiar with hearing. They have 4 of the best and brightest and fastest guys flat out in the Bandit Racing League. So you see there Kevin Foster in the number 8 car. He leads the inside line at the moment. Nick Nickerson right behind him, of course, defending series champion in that black car with the blue number, the number 2 there. And then on the high side here, we got the 15 car, the GFR Geezer Authentics entry of Christopher Hamilton, who came very close to a number of race wins last season. So I think he's going to be a great addition. And much further down the pack here, actually out of the draft here at the moment, is the Sueno Daihatsu number 1 car of Ricky Hart Jr. Kind of a quiet start to the race for Ricky so far. He's still in the front pack. He's still close enough that hasn't lost the draft or anything, but he's starting from scratch. And Ricky, another guy on a decently sized. Actually, he's in that second pack there from about Benny Hogan back. But yeah, he's a guy who's also on a decent win the streak of his own. So 2 guys, he and Cody Welch, that starting out further back than you'd expect most races, but got to hope they have a plan in mind to break those streaks of theirs.
Yeah, I think so. I think these guys are right back at home with where you did the majority of your iRacing. This car was around for quite some time. They're very familiar with it. There's a lot of adjustment that you can do as far as the steering setup that we wouldn't have had with the newer car. So I think this is going to be a lot more familiar to them, and I'm expecting a good year out of both of those guys. But as far as the pack separating here, I wouldn't be too worried about that as of yet. Well, I'm assuming at some point we're going to get a caution here, especially the later stages of the race. That will bring everybody back together. I do like that move. Even when I was in the league racing on a weekly basis, if I would get separated from the main pack, I was completely fine with it. It does get a little jumbled up when we start doing green flag pit stops, which we may or may not see. The fuel window here, I believe, is about 20 to 25 laps, 21 to 23 laps. So we will see those guys duck down pit road around that time. And that's where things will get a little hectic. Guys speeding, they're coming full speed onto pit road, but that's where guys are going to be separated. That's where you're going to see a lot of, quote unquote team orders happening. So we're going to see how that plays out, but I'm expecting some cautions here. But so far, so good.
As we see the pack here coming up to a lap car of Matt Crocker, the number 10. We got his Skype camera up there in the top right. Unfortunately, his number appears to be comically small, so we will make sure that is a little bit larger for next week in another photo that decides to park itself in the corner. But the Brigham City, Utah native is about to have some adversity coming from right behind him. He's going to tuck. Yeah, he's going to go below the yellow line. Just nice and safe. Make sure the guys up behind him have room to go all the way around, and he doesn't need to funnel 2 lanes into one. So we'll bounce along there and get back in here momentarily. I think we are good to go. And yeah, he will tuck back in. So the line still led by Mike Wright will take back over in the Greensboro, North Carolina native. Again, rookie to the series, running his first season here in the Bandit Racing League. And I think up there with, who was it? Was it Alec Daffin? I don't remember if Alec Daffin was his first ever race. But Mike Wright here would be in a very elite group of Bandit Racing League rookie race winners. And he and Kevin Foster, another guy who it's been a couple seasons since we saw a win from that number 8 car. There's just a lot of fun names up front right now, Chris, that definitely have quite a bit to prove.
Yeah, I can't agree with you anymore. This is a great group up here. This is nice to see those guys up front. These are guys that maybe didn't necessarily have the season they wanted last season, so it's good to see this front pack here all kind of running up close together. As we see, they're about to pass the 85 of Cody Welch, who I believe had another unfortunate packet loss or connection issue. As we see the field get a little bunched up here, but Cody is currently 5 laps down. I don't foresee that really being that big of an issue here at Daytona. We can start piling up cautions, and as the great Evan Wall would say, cautions breed cautions, especially at a track like this.
They do indeed. Evan was always absolutely right about that, is that, yeah, once you get one caution, you're bound to get a number of others in its wake. But yeah, 6 laps down for Cody Welch related to some internet problems. Is there a more fitting way to start a year for one of the unluckiest guys I know in all of motorsport? Probably
You hate
not.
to see it, but if I'm going to get it out of the way, I'm going to get it out of the way here. You
Yeah.
know, you have your chances to kind of have this race be somewhat of rolling of the dice here. So if I'm going to let it slip away, I'm going to let it slip away here. And I know he's going to be strong at some of these tracks later on in the season. But lucky for him, he's kind of attached to this front pack. So now he can just sit and ride. As long as he takes care of his car, he'll maintain those 6 laps down. Obviously, ideally, he'd like to get to the front of his pack and get one of his laps back. But I think he's going to be all right. We're going to have enough cautions here tonight, I believe, that he'll end up getting those laps back.
Yeah, I would say there's a very good chance that he can make a way back up there into the field. We got the 87 of Dan Stein Jr. that I wanted to just point out here for a moment. The 87 is now joined up as the 3rd car on that inside line here at the moment. But well, for the first time all season here, Chris, I think we need to take an opportunity to do a through the field segment, presented as always by Perfect Shine Auto Spa. So here we go, Perfect Shine Auto Spa presenting your through the field. We're going to do a little bit of a through the field here for drivers who have moved up a number of spots throughout the race, have made a way or come quite a ways since qualifying only 15 laps ago. One of those drivers I want to talk about, Kevin Foster. He's currently running up in 3rd there, started in 16th, the only driver currently in the top 5, other than Bill Harkins here, who is right to his outside in that busy Beaver number 12 car. Those two guys, the only ones outside of the top 10 who have now worked their way in. That was true until Ashley Lyle moved up into the 7th spot. They're up 20 spots. She has moved the Virginia Beach, Virginia, fittingly native, in the 45 car. Obviously, well, it feels like a long time friend of the series. It's her 2nd full season in the Bandit Racing League, but an incredible win the other year, beating Nick Nickerson at Road America to break what would be a 3-season road course winning streak for the defending series champion, had it not been for Lyle's performance. Then you go back to Caden Bailey here. He's up 10 spots, currently sitting in 9th, another rookie of the series, the past Christian Massachusetts native, currently running in the 9th spot. And other than that, just one more I want to mention here. Terry Conda started all the way back in 33rd. He has now worked his way up to 12th there in the number 32 car on the outside line. So a couple guys that have been doing pretty well for themselves here, really, despite some early qualifying troubles, and suggest that they aren't going for that alternative strategy with the stand at the back and just chilling. So that has been your Perfect Shine Auto Spa start of the race, but we will do many as the events and festivities go on. I just want to quickly talk about as well here, Chris. It's become very clear there is an established front and like 1st and 2nd pack forming up here, and I'm trying to tell where it ends. I can definitely tell that it appears Keegan Clark in the 74 car kind of in the middle of it, and then you got Brett Guzik in the 04 car just a little ways back leading the 2nd pack, and there's kind of a lap car there of Matt Crockett in the middle to bridge the two. But you got to be worried, Chris. I mean, if you were in that 2nd pack back when you raced, you'd be kind of worried you're going to lose the slipstream completely, and then again, you're a sitting duck once you aren't connected to that front group.
Yeah, you just kind of want to stay in range, right? You just get a little bit of the pull from the car in front of you, just so you can stay in touch. I'm not too worried about those guys. We're rapidly approaching 20 laps to go, or 20 laps in the race here. So we're going to start to see green flag pit stops, which is going to kind of jumble up everything. You're going to start to see cars really spread out, which is where you're really going to start worrying about, do you have the draft or not? So you have to really get on pit road cleanly and get off with somebody. But with approaching 20 laps into the race here, and we have 45 viewers currently watching, I want to know from you guys down in the chat, who do you guys like so far? I mean, I'm keeping a close eye on this 14 car. I'm really liking how he's running. But the 8 of Kevin Foster looks really strong. He has that car really settled on the bottom there, and he has a really good guy pushing him in that 2 car, Nick Nickerson.
I'm even going to put you on the spot here, Chris. We didn't get a chance to do it pre-race, so we're going to go on a limb here. Lap number 20, got plenty to go. Haven't even seen a caution yet. Let's get a race pick from you. Who you thinking race 1 of the season? Who you going with?
Ooh, this is like rolling the dice. I feel like I'm playing roulette. Let's see. You know what? I'm going to go on a limb, the 12 car.
Ooh.
I like it. Yeah, it's his time. It's his time. He's running a really clean race. I'm really liking how that car's moving around. He's taking care of it right now. Let's see what he can do and keep it together for the end of the race.
I just want to apologize as well. You'll see up there in the timing tower that Bill Harkins shows up as the number 5. We just had a bit of a slip up with the number files here. He is the 12 whenever we get a chance. We will change that and make sure it's correct. But just know, if we ever talk about the 12 car, we are referring it to Bill Harkins. But I like that there, Chris, going with Bill. Of course, longtime driver in the series, but of course the series founder as well. And it would be cool. He's always been pretty solid here at these super speedways. I think it was Talladega last year. One of these races came away with, if memory serves, the top 5. So it would be definitely not outside the realm of possibility whatsoever to see him have a really good run here. I'm going to go, speaking of, to a similar, kind of mindset here to Chris. I'm going to go for kind of a fun pick. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the guy who I know he's dominated a super speedway race, which is kind of the kiss of death here for most of these events. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to go Mike Wright here, driver of the 14 car, rookie to the series. We haven't had a rookie win a race in Bandit in I think 2 or 3 seasons now. Maybe Mike's the guy to do it. He's looked comfortable. He's looked solid. And he's got plenty of sort of sympathy and teamwork going with the 2 GFR racing guys. They kind of have some camaraderie forming there. So I'm going to go with him. Mike Wright, Bill Harkins are 2 picks for the race. But yes, absolutely, as Chris said, put your picks down there in the YouTube chat as we see ourselves kind of single file out here as we cut towards the line for lap number 22, as we might see pit stops, and we do indeed. Here comes Nick Nickerson.
Here we go. You don't want to lock him up as we see a car going through the grass here.
Whoa! Nick has slightly slid off. Christopher Hamilton as well, the 2 GFR racing guys, totally overshooting the pit entry. Christopher Hamilton went all the way off the racetrack, managed to woe it up. We're very quickly here going to go to a butt kicker racing replay. And that was kind of as Chris returned to the track. But let's go a little ways further back. You can see the tire tracks formed from the 15 car, just locking him up here and on his way down pit road. Same with his teammate, Nick Nickerson. So none of the GFR guys really got it figured out there.
Yeah, that's something you don't want to see. These guys maybe knocking a little bit of the dust off, trying to get to pit road at full speed here, maybe making a last-minute decision. But that is gonna be a penalty. That will be a penalty. That will probably be a drive-through penalty for these guys. But it is early. They can bounce back from it. But that is a tough way to start a race when you've been up front dominating so far.
We're seeing a swath of other pit stops here. Everybody in the pits, including another driver. Was that Kevin Foster? A 3rd GFR racing driver put himself in the grass on the way into pit road. Crazy. For again, some of the most experienced, talented guys in the series for GFR Racing is, again, there's Mike Wright, who was leading the race here a moment ago. Kevin Foster not even going to pit because, again, I think he took that penalty as well. Missed pit road entry. So huge if those are indeed all penalties here, Chris. Just 3 of the biggest names in the series, all teammates, and suddenly they're all going to find themselves potentially a lap down.
Yeah, that is definitely a rough way to start here, but it comes with trying to be aggressive getting on the pit road. You want to try to have as much speed getting to pit road, as we're going to see the 04 and the 83 come into pit road here as well. These guys are trying to get as much speed as the 83 misses as well. The thing here is, as soon as you pass the commitment line and you overshoot pit road, that is a penalty. So they're probably going to drive through and come back around and take a time penalty rather than get their service and have to come back. That's what I would foresee happen. But yeah, that is a tough hit. You're going to go a lap down. And now it's a battle of who is the first car 1 lap down. So that is a tough way to start your race, especially if you've been cruising around. A little bit of mental mistakes, maybe knocking that dust off from being off for a couple months. So we'll see how those guys rebound.
Just waiting to see here as we kind of funnel ourselves back out. Who is going to be the new race leader once we've left pit road? And I'm not sure if they maybe took less tires, if they have some sort of game plan going, but Zach Hillman and Sean Britt, the 3 and the 98 car respectively, both drivers 8 seconds clear on pit road. But I think Zach Hillman may have missed. I think he's run out of fuel here, Chris, because the 3 car in the backstretch, the Oreo number 3 car of Zach Hillman, was slow coming off a pit road exit. And now I think he's out of power. He was getting pushed there for a moment by the 98 of Sean Britt. Now he's going to have to coast his way all the way back to pit road.
Yeah, I'd certainly say it looks like he's probably running out of fuel here. It doesn't seem like there's any damage on the car, and he is slowing speed. So this may bring out a caution, which if these guys are trying to figure out who's 1 lap down and who's ahead of who, they want to figure it out quick, because this may bring out a caution if he stops. It looks like he's rolling pretty good, but he does have to make it all the way to his stall. Otherwise, he's going to have to tow. But some drama early here at Daytona.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt about that. There was plenty of excitement there in those 2 or 3 laps here as drivers getting their first pit stop, pit services of the season. Somebody in the background there I saw trying to identify new liveries because we got some new cars to the series. Somebody just clocked the back wall there off of the exit of turn number 2. They're going to continue going, so just minor damage here. But yeah, Zach Hillman's still trying to make his way back, and he's done it. He's actually gotten all the way back, just coasting the car in neutral. So good for the 3 car. Luckily, he's got one of the first pit boxes, but he is now officially going to go lap down to David Lakey. So yeah, first pit stop, pit service of the season for these drivers, and now only 6 cars left in that front pack. David Lakey, Keegan Clark, Mike Wright, Curtis Yancey, Mason Flagar, Nolan Gross, your top 6.
Yeah, as we see the pole sitter at the back of the one here, one thing that you want to keep in mind is if you are that car in front of the main pack there, you are burning way more fuel than the guys behind you. They have a little bit more ability to be off throttle a little bit, so you will inherently save a little bit of fuel. How well you manage that, you can actually save a lap or two of fuel, which could be huge if we get green, white, checkers here. So that is something to keep an eye on. Some guys may just give up the lead just so they can cycle back and be in the draft and save a little fuel.
Well, that almost, I think, that whole sort of, section there, Chris, felt like Act 1. I feel like we've gotten past the initial stage of this race. I think we started to figure ourselves out. We know who's fast. We know who's consistent. We know Mike Wright's going to be a guy to watch out for sure, I would say. We know David Lakey has been up front all race. We have guys that have it figured out. But effectively, and I want to assure those of you who maybe haven't watched a race in this series, or particularly haven't watched a super speedway race before, as Bill Harkins will now show up as 12 on the timing tower. But I do just want to clarify that nothing is really over until you're a lap down, and then it only gets a little bit more difficult. Again, we go back to Nick Nickerson here, running what will likely be a part-time schedule here in the Bandit Racing League this season. He's teamed up with Cody Welch there, the two guys that have a lot of ground to make up there towards the back of the pack, but have a ton of pedigree, so you got to think they're going to have the best game plan possible to do so. But he and Kevin Foster, two guys that if they run part-time schedules, may not need this race for the championship. They're just going to go week by week, and I think a Nick Nickerson that is only focused on the race win and not so much the championship standings like he was last year when he was kind of a little bit conservative at the end of this same race at Daytona. I think it'll only make them more fun to watch. And right now, seeing Nick and Cody team up, it's something fun. It's one of those little fun moments for those longtime Bandit Racing League fans that maybe haven't seen these two guys team up much, if ever.
This may be something a little bit by design here. I think that Nick has chosen to pick Cody as his drafting partner here because Nick is actually the first car one lap down, and if he can manage to get in front of David, it's not for the lead, it's to get his lap back, which is huge for him because he won't have to take the wave around. So he may want to just tuck behind Cody here and see if he can pull anybody along with him that's trying to get the lead from that 84 car. Because as it stands right now, Nick Nickerson is the first car one lap down, and we have James Hartley, Matt Crockett, Kevin Foster, and Zach Hillman all one lap down. You have Cody Welch several laps down here. So we'll see how he can rebound from that, but that is an interesting game plan here. I think that two car is going to be wearing out that back bumper of the 85.
You saw there a moment ago the view off the back of David Lakey's car, just showing exactly how close Keegan Clark is running to him at all times. And that's why even when you're just tucked in a pack, even when you're not looking to pass, not looking to make moves, you're just looking to chill where you are, stay in the draft, run fast, efficient lap times, and save fuel. It's still tough here, Chris, and obviously you know that as well as anybody. But even just lap to lap, getting in a groove, try not to run in the back of the car in front. When somebody's trying to side draft, you're not bumping into them. It's really tough to do. It's really tough to just drive here in a pack. That's why I'm impressed. We've now gone 30 laps, caution-free, and in only 8 more laps time, we will be halfway through, all the way green at Daytona.
Yeah, this isn't what I was expecting. I thought we were going to, as I was alluding to, is having to knock off a little bit of the dust, maybe the off-season antics that we do here on the non-broadcasting side of the Bandit Racing League kept these guys a little fresh. But, it's tough at Daytona. It gets tougher as you go on to some of the mile-and-a-half tracks where you really can't lean on anybody. This track, you can kind of lean on people a little bit, but there's only so much give and take. So these cars, there's what they call the bubble on the rear bumper. There's going to be like a little pocket of air that is hard to punch through. You can kind of manipulate that by the driver in front, maybe dragging a brake a little bit. But keeping those cars as close as you can together is going to be the key to success here tonight if you want to go the fastest. So when you see that 74 car on the back bumper of that 84 car and he's locked in, you can only stay there for so long because you also don't want to overheat your engine. So there's a lot of games within the game here that we're playing tonight. But as we're seeing that too in that 85 kind of hustling the car up here towards the outside, I'm surprised someone's not tucked in behind him trying to get this lead from that 84 car.
Yeah, again, you can still see Nickerson and Welch teaming up there. Nickerson doing whatever he can to push Cody, try to make it a mutually beneficial situation. And even if he's just saving fuel, it's better than if Nick was all by his lonesome there, a lap down with no hope of catching up. And again, you're absolutely right. If he passes David Lakey, does Nick Nickerson, doesn't even have to worry about the lucky dog. That would then go to the driver sitting in, I believe, 33rd position, which would be, until the timing tower comes up, that would be James Hartley, the number of the driver, the number 6, I should say, would get the lap back for free. So, again, yeah, it's a very political sort of deal there, Chris, as you just talked about. It's so many little things to maneuver there. As again, you see on board with Nick Nickerson just how tight quarters it is up there in that pack at the front. I just very quickly showed as well Mason Flagar, driver of the number 72 there, running in 5th position. Really solid start. And Young Guns Racing teammate, Mr. Nolan Gross. And I believe Keegan Clark was in that stable as well. So 3 of the top 6 drivers, Young Guns Racing representatives of some of the younger drivers, the high potential guys in our series, that being the O2 car, that black and blue entry you see with the awesome Full Send logo on the hood, I believe the American flag as well. Keegan Clark there running that yellow livery tucked in behind David Lakey, trying to push him as Nick Nickerson and Cody Welch. They are going to get by. Is this their chance to tuck in front? Or are they going to try to avoid getting directly in the way of David Lakey? But Curtis Yancey there on the top side, he is for position. And if he tucks in here and stays behind these two gentlemen, he could become your new race leader. Watch for that 51 car to duck down.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. If I was anybody that was next to these guys, I would have saw that as an opportunity to kind of pull me to the front. If no one's going to jump out of line with me, I'm going to use the lap cars to pull me along. As you see, the 85, the 2, and the 51 jump down in front of the leader of the 84 car. The 51 car is now your leader, but they're also closely, rapidly approaching another group of cars that if I'm the 85 and the 2, I want to try to get to as fast as possible. That is going to create more distance between you and that leader in case something does happen. Right now, Nick is on the lead lap. He is at the very, very, very end of the lead lap, but he is on the lead lap nonetheless, so that works out for him. But we're going to see how this all shakes out.
Nolan Gross there dipping below the yellow line. Looks like he will not come down pit road. He's going to just kind of tuck out, maybe get some of the get the engine cooled down a little bit, maybe take some air off the front hood. But yeah, Cody Welch there is going to start weaving through traffic here momentarily, going to be the representative in front of this line. But Curtis Yancey, the Clearwater, Florida native, now your new race leader there at the front. And he's somebody who's had quite a few wins for those of you who haven't tuned in these last couple seasons. Started out in the series in my time broadcasting. He was one of the more aggressive drivers in the series, but often to his benefit. He made those moves a lot of guys weren't willing to make, and a lot of the time they paid off. He's got a lot of wins. He's had some fun moments, some fun rivalries, but at the end of the day, always one of the best, and he's only gotten better and better in this series as he's gotten more patient, and his racecraft has gotten even better. So what a great showing of his abilities and how far he's come to would be to win today's race. And right now, I think he's in a great spot to do so. Doesn't even have to lead the pack necessarily. He can still save fuel, can still slipstream on some lap cars, but he's still your effective leader of the race, and that's to his credit. As we get to the halfway point here, I don't think there's any more, Chris. I'd rather be in the field right now than where the 51 car is.
Yeah, he's kind of in the perfect case scenario as he's starting to break away from the 84 car here. If that works out for him, you can kind of just follow these guys through. But you're going to see this accordion effect as guys get runs here. As you get a little bit further back, the run that you're going to get towards the back bumper of that car in front of you is insane. So you have to watch that closing speed here. But this could also mean disaster for the 51 car too. The 2 and the 85 don't really have much to lose. They're trying to stay on the lead lap. They're going to push really, really hard. As you see, Nick does really push the heck out of that 85 car because he is trying to get away from these guys. So, yeah, this has been surprisingly not anything that I expected. I'm curious to hear from the chat as we're now over 50 viewers in the chat. So I want to hear from you guys. Do you guys want to see a yellow, or are you kind of liking how this is playing out? I thought we were going to have a bunch of yellows up to this point, but so far so good.
It's an interesting question because I think, obviously getting a yellow right now, getting us packed up, not only would it give us a chance to go to the butt kicker racing replay, but it would also give us a chance to see the field packed up again. Obviously get Bill Harkins back in the mix there because he's the guy who's about 2.5 seconds back in that second pack you'll see in the background of your screen here. But it would also give a chance for those guys like Cody Welch, Nick Nickerson to get their lap back. James Hartley would get the lucky dog. Put some guys that I think, if they were comfortably in that front pack right now, would probably be the favorite for the win, who are currently trapped in kind of an unlucky spot. But yeah, we'll go back here again to this sort of pack here as Bill Harkins, driver of the number 12 from Ashtabula, Ohio, his 11th, of course, season in the Bandit Racing League, been here since it was founded, leads Brett Guzek, one of his former champions there, champion of season number 9 of the Bandit Racing League, right behind him, and leads that pack, including Benny Hogan, Joshua McQuiggan. I believe that is Hunter Henry there in 11th. Then it's Trey Ellis, again, former winner here at Daytona from Chesterfield, Virginia. And Benjamin Lacey in the 7 car, the 4-time winner last year, the Redlands, California native, in the Running the Wild number 7 car. So really good drivers there, Chris, in that second pack. Just 2.5 seconds back. They're making up about a 10th a lap, but it would definitely help to get that caution to put him right back in contention to get to the front and be in that catbird seat position that David Lakey's in, and of course the race lead like Curtis Yancey.
Yeah, they're slowly chipping away at it. I think if they would just get a little bit more organized here, they'll definitely get there. It's just a matter of time for them. It looks like there is more cars in their pack, maybe, or it's an equivalent amount of cars here. But yeah, I think they'll get back. But as we've seen here in this race, you know, if we're going to be approaching green flag pit stops here again very shortly, that mixes everything up. So it's gonna have to see what happens here after these next cycle of stops if we don't get a yellow.
Just trying to jump all the way throughout the field, checking on all the various groups forming up here. Here's a fun little one here, formed up between Jason Greenwell, the, of course, Mount Vernon, Indiana native. Who's that behind him? Trying to come to terms with new paint schemes and liveries. One of the fun parts about the first race of every season is trying to figure out who exactly I'm looking at. I see the 98 card there of, that is Sean Britt. I see Steve Ulrich and Jay Rome of all joined up with him, the Comox BC native up here, a north of the border Canadian like myself, and Steve Ulrich. And we have had a crash somewhere on track. Hayden Paul goes off right at the entry to the tri-oval. Do we have a caution? We do indeed. First of the race, first of the season. We have a caution here at Daytona in the Geezer Authentic 75, and it has been brought out by Hayden Paul, and I think to some extent here, Ricky Hart Jr. as he comes back up to speed. Yes, huge damage to the front of the number 1 car. He's going to have to use this one quick repair. But there you go, Chris. We're having a reset here. It is caution time, and that'll pack the field up quick and give Cody and Nick their laps back.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I spoke it into existence like I did a lot last season, so... yeah, it's a tough break for the 1 car there, but luckily he has his fast repair and he is on the lead lap, so he will bounce back quick. Tough break for those guys, but this is something that I want to see. I want to see a yellow here to kind of reset us and see where everybody's actually at as we go into the second half of this race.
Just trying to get some perspective on what happened here that kicked this whole thing off. You see there, that is Dan Stein Jr., that yellow number 87 car. So on the bottom, that Lowe's yellow car, unusual. It just looked like Ricky Hart in that Sueno de Otso number 1 just got in the wall unprovoked. We're going to go to his perspective and see what he was looking at there. Again, thank you to Butt Kicker for all of our replays here in the series. But yeah, just weird situation. I'm curious if you got a perspective on that, Chris, maybe what you saw as we go on board here.
Yeah, I'm just kind of going through it myself here, but that is a weird set of circumstances. Yeah, it looks like maybe a little loss of concentration from the 1 car. Very uncharacteristic, but I mean, this track is so fast-paced. As soon as someone gets a little out of shape here, everybody's going with them. So luckily, I mean, for that pack there, it was only 3 cars. It looks like took some damage from that, but a lot of these guys are gonna be able to bounce back quick. Like I said, we have fast repairs here. You have 1 per race, so they'll get their cars serviced and they'll be back out on track and getting right back after it.
It's pitting time here, Chris. We got David Lakey down pit road, then Brett Guzik, Josh McQuiggan, Benny Hogan, the front 4 pit stalls. Here comes Curtis Yancey. The race off pit road. Is the 51 going to get him? That was a photo at finish exit off of pit lane. I think Yancey will get him. He will be credited with the position. So Curtis Yancey wins the race off pit road, followed by David Lakey. Josh McQuiggan going to jump up a couple spots here. Benjamin Lacey up into 4th. Mason Flagar will remain in the top 5. The 72 car will start in 5th. Mike right there in 6th. My pick for the race wins. Still up there in the front of the field. We like to see it. Keegan Clark now is going to drop down to 7th. Trey Ellis is currently where he started there. Started 8th, currently sits 8th. Bill Harkins there, your pick for the race win, Chris. He is in 9th. And Brett Guzik there has dropped 8 spots since the start of the race, but of course has been up front all the way and now gets to go back to that front pack. He will start in 10th.
A little bit of change of the order here. It looks like David actually got Curtis coming out of pit road, so he will lead us to green. I think that was just a timing thing there, but nonetheless, these 2 guys have shown the speed to stay up front. But now that we've had a little bit of a reset here, what do you think about the second half of this race? You think we're going to be caution-filled, or you think we're going to continue to stay green? I think that we've just upped the intensity here, because now we have a bunch of guys that are mired back in the pack a little bit that want to get back to the front. So tell me what you think on that.
Yeah, I'm looking through the race order here because I think that'll really influence the sort of race we get, depending on what kind of guys are at the back that, as you say, now have even clean race cars for the guys that will have taken damage. Again, looking back to Nick Nickerson, who, of course, was a lap down here a moment ago. Ricky Hart Jr., who has now taken his quick repair. So that's his last fast repair for the race. Now, any damages he takes will will effectively end his race unless they are a minor, which usually at Daytona, going as fast as we are, they typically aren't that minuscule. But yeah, Nick Nickerson back actually down pit road here. The Phoenix, Arizona native will hit once again. Don't know if he's just trying to maximize fuel or what's going on for him. Dan Stein Jr. as well. The Norristown, Pennsylvania native will also come join him. I actually think, Chris, it's a pretty laid-back sort of back group. I think Jason Greenwell, veteran of the series, he's patient. I think he's finished runner-up there the other year. It was Michigan, another fairly large racetrack that I think would have comparable sort of aspects to it. Kevin Foster there, you see, he's still a lap down, will now become the potential lucky dog candidate for another caution, which I would almost guarantee we're going to get. But I actually think some of the more aggressive guys in the pack here who would want to work their way forward, like potentially a Curtis Yancey or even Bill Harkins on his day, is definitely able to push through the pack quick. So it'll be interesting. I always like to bet on the drivers here as the lights in the pace car are off. We're going to get ready to go green here in just a moment. But I'm actually going to bet on the field here, Chris. I'm going to say maybe 2 or 3 more cautions, but I think we're generally speaking going to do most of the racing on the track, which is what I hope we'll see for sure.
I'll agree with you. I do want to see a lot of green flag racing here, but I also want to see the intensity bumped up here a little bit. So let's hope that these guys can keep it clean, and let's see what we got for effectively the second half of this race.
But of course, as we have been reminded here in the YouTube chat, cautions breed cautions. Evan Wall always uttered those immortal words, so we'll see if he is right yet again here. But we're ready to go green here, folks. The first restart of season number 11 of the Bandit Racing League in the Geezer Authentics Cup Series. We are green, and David Lakey, Curtis Yancey on the front row, will lead us to set green. It was David who led us at the start of the race, and he will lead the field at the first restart.
There may be talk here that the 51 car, according to iRacing, has jumped the start. We're going to see how that plays out, but a really good restart by the 84 car here, as that bottom line is really organized, but a really good run out of the top line here as the 51 car clears the 84.
That would be unreal if Curtis Yancey does indeed take a penalty for that restart violation. Just such a minute mistake, but that would be huge for his race. I honestly dearly hope that's not the case and that somehow it gets overturned, but you never know. Obviously, you want things to be proper and right, but I mean, David did have the lead into turn number 1, so you never know here. But on the outside, here comes Benjamin Lacey, 4-time race winner last season, one of the potential favorites for the title this year. There he goes, getting the push from my pick for the race, Mike Wright. The two guys starting to team up on the high side against the potentially penalized 51 of Curtis Yancey.
The car we got used to seeing up front a lot last season, and here he is again up front in the biggest race, arguably, of the year. This is the race that everybody has circled on their calendar. To touch back on Curtis, they are reviewing his potential penalty there of jumping the restart. It sounds to me like it's going to get overturned, so we're going to keep close ears on that, for lack of a better term. But yeah, the 7 car back up front here, and the 84 car, he has managed to stay up front all race long, starting on the point, and here he is in this front pack. I don't know. That car is looking mighty stout tonight.
Yeah, it's looked great. Really, everybody up in this front 5 right now, sort of, because even Trey Ellis has been up in the top 10, 30 of the last 40 laps. So tons of guys up front there that just seem dialed in. They know what they're doing in that front pack and know what they can do to avoid getting shuffled backwards as fast as we saw guys like Brett Guzik at the beginning seem to go backwards again. I don't know if that was a teamwork thing, because he did go link up with his teammate there in Dawson Guzik. But yeah, some movement back there further in the pack. I want to keep an eye here on this kind of middle section. We're going to go back to Chad Eldridge. He's in that, just want to make sure I get the right color here. Again, trying to learn livery. He's got really cool, actually, sort of black and yellow. Can't tell if that's a flower on the front hood, but he's the guy on the outside with the really cool number font. He's on the outside of Nolan Gross there. But it's this middle pack here, Chris, I find typically at the super speedways potentially more problematic as it's guys kind of going forward, going back. Very different change of momentum. Oftentimes that part goes 3 wide. There's a huge gap actually forming up from in front of Brett Guzik all the way up to, can't even tell who that would be as somebody slots in to take the slot there. But yeah, I think you'd agree, Chris, in your personal experience, often it's the mid-pack we see the wrecks.
Yeah, the middle of the pack is we like to refer to as the hornet's nest. You know, it's really tough being back there because you can't see where to go. The splitter on the front of the car, or the rear wing on the back of the car, rather, is so hard to see over that you have these huge runs and you want to do something with them, but you don't have nowhere to go. So it's just so tough being in that middle of the pack. You have no idea what's happening in front of you. You're just kind of hoping that the guy is going to lead you in the right direction. But yeah, this is where you see most of the wrecks happen. The 11 car looks like he got into the wall a little bit here. I see a little damage on the back of his car, but he seems to be all right. He's holding that draft. We'll kind of touch back on that later on. But as we've kind of cycled out here, the 51 and the 84 are making some real good moves here at the bottom of the racetrack. The fastest line around the track is the bottom, and they're making it work right now.
We're just going to jump here again to Skype. Always like to get the driver's perspectives here as we watch Christopher Hamilton. For a moment there, he was starting to fall way back at this front pack. And to make an iconic reference, it was just Christmas time a few months ago, like the scene in Christmas Story where Ralphie's little brother continuously runs after him to try to catch up because he doesn't want to miss out on stuff. That was Christopher Hamilton there a moment ago as the front pack started to drift away and made his way all the way back up there. So good on him to utilize that slipstream and stay right hooked onto the back of his teammate, or proverbially hooked right onto the number 2 of Nick Nickerson, who was, of course, back on the lead lap and back in contention. But there's the Tempe, Arizona native. Always loved the iconic googly eyes on his VR headset.
I will give it to you, Marshall. You have the best references, I think, hands down in broadcasting. I don't think anybody can touch it, and that's probably what I missed the most in this offseason. As we see a couple cars back in that, what we call the Hornet's Nest, getting a little bit out of shape here. So it's getting a little dicey back there. That's what I'm liking. I want to see guys leaning on each other and pushing the heck out of each other. So we're going to see how this shakes out. Guys want to get to the front because they know time's ticking.
I will say that reference is a little bit mainstream. Every week I think I'm going to try to watch some maybe some oldies movies, some that'll iconic 80s stuff, and I'll try to make more niche references. The idea is that I want to make analogies in racing that none of you at home can get. That'll make my job even more fun. But yes, I appreciate it.
I'm going to need you to hold them to that, chat. You guys need to make them do that every week.
Every week, and then maybe at the end we'll leak what I was talking about, and I'll reference. And,
we're gonna have to put that one of our trivia nights.
We'll provide some citations. Ooh, I like that. We'll do an 80s trivia night sometime. Anyways, until 80s trivia night, we go back to the front of the field where Curtis Yancey continues to take us around and lead David Leahy. So two guys who for a while going back and forth there in the front of the front 2 rows. Decided to put their differences aside and will team up. So now 25 laps to go here. We're flying through this race, and again, we're back into a pretty good streak of green flag laps as somebody, I think that was Ashley Lyle, who made an aggressive move from the outside down to the inside, saw her gap, and
we have a yellow.
Took it. We have a yellow indeed. Wow, I have jinxed that immediately, as is the old broadcaster's curse. Terry Condis has gone around back there. You see actually little to no damage there on the 32 car, but somebody else around him thought I saw with pretty decent hood damage. Maybe not. So here we go. Buck Kicker Racing replay. It was Terry Condis off of turn 2 involved in something. Wow. Hard lick off the outside wall. Who was that? Steve Ulrich, I believe. Yeah, the 25 car. Really cool black and gold livery for Ulrich tonight. But yeah, just something unsettled him off the exit of turn number 2 and went slap bang into the outside wall a couple times there. That's a lick you do not want to take in real life.
As I'm still trying to find it here on track. Just to give the people at home a reference here as we're doing our production side of things, you can only render so many cars on track, and with such a big track like Daytona, it is very hard. But yeah, that was a very hard lick for the those 2 cars there. As I'm starting to see the replay now, that just I can't even speak to as what happened there. That's a tough one. I think that was kind of like a Ricky Hart situation, maybe just a little bit of loss of concentration. Maybe focusing on something else and just kind of lost it, put it in the wall, and there goes everybody else. So that's a tough break for those guys. But again, I don't think anybody involved in that wreck had used their fast repair, and they will be back. But this is going to bunch us all up again. And as we get close to the end of this race, the intensity is going to rise, and people are going to start making crazy moves. I'm waiting for the 3 wide to start coming, and it is in short order here. I promise you that.
Here we go as we see Curtis Yancey going down pit road. Along with the rest of the field. I was going to say, are we going to see anybody make the bold move not to come down? But logically, there is no reason. There's chances with yellow flags you could get from now till the end of the race on 1 tank of fuel. So I don't see any benefit to doing so. However, did I just see Cody Welch in the background decide to forego pit road? Or is he... No, he's still 10 laps down. What am I talking about? Nick Nickerson, the other guy who was originally a lap down with him, is well recovered. Since then, he's all the way back to currently, looking at my telemetry, he is... somewhere in the mid-10s to 20s. So, yeah, he's currently in actually 10th position as we speak. So, race off pit road there. You saw in the background, Josh McQuiggan is just barely going to pit Benjamin Lacey for the final time in today's race, potentially. Final time we will see guys down pit road, especially under a yellow. So, There you go. Joshua McQuiggan, driver of the number 29 car, of course, is currently winless in the Bandit Racing League, has never picked one up, but he's had some top fives. He's had success in the past, and when we do a through the field here in just a moment, he'll be the first name we check off that list, but Benjamin Lacey going to jump up a couple more spots ahead of Yancey and Lakey as well. So it's hard to decide here, I would say, Chris, who has been sort of the MVP of tonight's race. I think David is, having led both caution restarts prior to this one, I think has been probably the more dominant name, but definitely all 4, even 5 guys, including Keegan Clark, maybe 6 or 7 with Wright and Gross. All 7 guys up front have been at the front of the pack. I think they know what to do, even without the slipstream in front of them.
Yeah, that 84 car has managed to stay up front and keep his car clean, so I will give him kudos on that, starting on the pole and staying up front for a large majority of this race. He does look really good. I will give credit where credit is due, but I do want to shout out someone in our chat right now, Mr. Evan Wall himself. He said it. You know what cautions do? Cautions breed cautions. Thank you, Mama Guzik, for finishing Evan's sentence there. But yeah, you know, I think that things are gonna get crazy here. I don't know what you think, Marshall, but I think that this is where the craziness starts, is right now.
Well, what I think here, Chris, is if you're watching this broadcast side by side like a podcast with some other activities, say knitting or folding laundry, as I often do whenever I consume video content, I would put that down. I would stop, because you're about to have to focus. You're about to have a lot to watch. I'm guessing minimum 3 lines in the last 2 laps. I don't foresee how some middle or outside line doesn't form up at the last moment to add some extra chaos here into the proceedings. So no matter how this race ends, it is not going to be conventional whatsoever. And well, before we get too far, we want to first talk about our sponsor of tonight's race, that is Geezer Authentics. First, we're going to get to the Bandit Racing League website here. So there you go, the BanditRacingLeague.com website. As always, it is the backbone. It is one of the pillars of being a fan in this series. If you need to know any information about the Bandit Racing League, that is where you want to go. The Season 11 schedule is posted on the BanditRacingLeague.com website, which is linked in the description. Unfortunately, tonight, we do not have the official graphic for it. We'll get that for you next week. We will be at Virtual Las Vegas next week. We'll talk plenty more about that later, and of course in next week's broadcast. But there is everything you need. We got the merch link to GeezerAuthentics.com. We got all the Bandit Racing League's drivers, and of course we have the point standings, which is effectively everything you need as a Bandit Racing League fan to keep up with the series. You can also catch our YouTube links directly from there if you'd rather go through that than finding us here on YouTube, but also to our sponsors in Moza Racing, Apex Sim Racing, Butt Kicker, all of our partners. That's a great way to go check them out and go straight there. So BanditRacingLeague.com, as always, your place to go for that. And momentarily, we will tell you a little bit more as well about Geezer Authentics, your place to go for all things Bandit Racing League merch. We'll see some of the great options we have there in just a moment. Of course, all proceeds go back into the league, and the link to that is in the description as always. Here we go. Restart number 2. It's McQuiggan on the pole, Lacey to the outside, and we just saw Keegan Clark there in the 74 car dipping below the yellow line momentarily. Gets it figured out. We are clean through the tri-oval.
A little bit of a rough start there from the 84. It's going to bunch up that bottom line, but I think he's going to get a really, really good run here as the 7 car drops down into that bottom lane. And look who's back up here, that 2 car of Nick Nickerson. Man, you know, I said it last season. I got sick of seeing that guy's name up front. He has not performed well here at the plate races. Let me just make that known. But he is looking really strong right now as the 51 car is all over the back bumper of the 29 car coming through 3 and 4. Man, I really like how this race is starting to shape up here.
Yeah, again, Joshua McQuiggan, the Canadian Port Colborne native, the only Canadian in the top 10 of the 3 we have racing tonight in the Bandit Racing League Season 11 opening race. But again, Mike Wright, here he comes on the outside. He's been a fixture there in the top 5 all race, and a huge push from Ashley Lyle and again Nick Nickerson, who always finds his way back. He's like insert famous horror movie character here. He just won't die. He just won't go away, and he's back. He's up there at 3rd, and I would not be surprised if he jumps down to the inside line here, takes the run away from Josh McQuiggan, and says, okay, even if I'm not running a full-time schedule this year, I've got a curse to break. I got to get this monkey off my back with these super speedway races. And remember last year, Chris, I know we say it's not his specialty. He was about a corner away from winning last year. I think had he gotten a little bit more aggressive, absolutely could have won last season's race at Daytona. He was great that night, so don't be surprised if we see a decently surprised win here from him. Joshua McQuiggan now back to 6th. Again, once you lose that run and once you become the less dominant line, you are gone. You are way back there. And now he's all the way back down to 8th.
Yeah, it's really tough, especially on the restarts there where you're having guys jump in and out of certain lines. They want to get down to their friend or who they've been working with throughout the entire race. But this top line's really formed up. As you're going to see a big push from this 45 car to the back bumper of the 14, right on the back bumper, really just putting the front bumper to the back bumper, really pushing that car. You're going to see a big run out of them. She's going to back off the back bumper here a little bit just to make sure that car is secure in the corner. And then you're going to see her come right back to the back bumper of that 14 car as we head towards the start-finish line. She's going to get a good push from the two of Nick Nickerson here. As she ducks out of line, she thought about it. She thought about it. This is where that decision-making comes in. As
that was close.
That was almost disaster for the whole field, and this is what I love to see here at Daytona.
I will say, in all the years that we've set in the series, he turned him famously is the Evan Wall quote. We've never had a she turn him, so that was almost an exciting moment. But no, clean pass, Ashley Lyle to the point. That 45 car getting pushed by the 2 car of Nick Nickerson as Jackson Knock now moves into that 3rd spot. A new face up here in the top 3. Of course,
he turned him.
He did turn him indeed. Yellow flag, chaos behind. Multiple cars involved. I saw guys start to go around. Didn't know who to call. There's your big one here, folks. At least the first of multiple big ones here at Daytona. Happened right behind that initial pack. There are guys kilometers, or if you're American, and use the inferior measure of distance, miles. There were drivers miles into the inside grass there as, you see Brett Guzik there, one of the names that if you're talking about the championship big picture, you don't want to see there in the inside line unless you're any other driver in the series as, he is going to get back on and resettle himself. So, you know where we go. We go to the Butt Kicker Racing Replay to see what kicked off that series of events. And I see Ricky Hart's name as driver that was involved in that wreck. So his night for the 1 car could be over. Okay, here we go. Going to go from the first car that gets involved. Mike Wright gets turned is the first guy that I notice. Guy who's been having such a solid race tonight. If there's any more exemplary example that what you do at the start doesn't matter if you crash in the middle. That is it, and just like a perfect Rube Goldberg machine, one guy went around, and suddenly it was a domino effect all the way back. About 12 cars involved. I'll try to get some names here. We might even do a freeze frame as they spin and just see who we can see is involved. So we'll pause it. We'll try to get a wider view here, just so you can see exactly how many cars are involved and potentially how much damage they have. So there's the wreck. I can see here just on my screen right now. The 7 of Benjamin Lacey was getting turned. Zach Hillman made contact there. Sean Britt's getting loose in the 98 car. The 11 of that is, I want to make sure I get names correct here, especially first race of the season. That is Chad Eldridge going around. And then, of course, Mike Wright, Mason Flagar, Christopher Hamilton were the main fixtures involved there. So massive wreck. There was the big one for you there, Chris.
There it is, and what does that come from? That comes from drivers starting to see the laps tick down here, and they're saying, "Yeah, I want to get to the front." That couple cars there, just there's nothing you can do. The cars start spinning in front of you, and like I was saying, you cannot see anything that's happening in front of you. So you're just hoping and praying that you can make it through there, and that's a tough break. A lot of these guys still have their fast pair, but now they're going to be back in the field, and now they are a little upset. I know, because I can hear the intercom here between these drivers. They are not very happy with each other, so this is going to make for some exciting about 20-lap shootout here or so, or 15-lap shootout. So, yeah, I mean, if you weren't excited before, if you're still folding your laundry like Marshall was talking about, stop that right now because you need to tune in and watch this. This is going to get crazy.
Yeah, I think I would compare a massive group of drivers crashing all at the same time in the big one and not thinking it was their fault to kicking a hornet's nest. You just get a giant cloud of anger charging at you, and sometimes it's productive. Sometimes the wasps sting you and cause a reaction. And sometimes, you come from 28th back all the way up to the lead at Daytona in 16 laps. Because that's kind of the image this track is known for. So don't be at all surprised if you still see a comeback from some of those guys that were just involved in that. Check the tower on the left side there to see the updated positions after that wreck there. We got, again, 37 drivers, all of whom are still running. Nobody has left the session. So good to see. Still plenty in competition here for the race win here at Daytona. And it's Ashley Lyle and Nick Nickerson, both their first time in the front row. They will lead us to green here momentarily. Very quickly, we're going to go here is the Geezer Authentic. So this is the... No, that's the wrong video. We're getting there here, folks. We're just a moment here until we get the Geezer Authentics video. So, Chris, I'll leave it to you. Is there any driver you've noticed tonight, anybody that you've had an eye on that's maybe not even had a ton of success particularly, but just somebody who's been fun to watch in your experience?
The 45 car has made some pretty exciting moves, so I'd like to shout that out. But some guy that's been lingering around all night, I think he has a leg up on the competition tonight, is that 4-car of Trey Ellis. He's just been lingering around this top 5, top 10 all night. He is a good plate racer. When I first came into the league, this was a guy that I paid special attention to, and I tried to stay with throughout the whole race because he gets real aggressive, but he knows when to push it and when to kind of reel it in. So, and obviously, the guy that I hate bringing up all the time, he's back up front now, the 2-car of Nick Nickerson. I don't know what to say about the guy. We know what kind of success he has, but can he get it done here on a plate track, and can he get the elusive Daytona win that he's been looking for? So, man, we've really shaken up the front of the field to the back of the field. So we're going to have to see how this all works out. We have a bunch of guys up front that weren't up front the entire race. We have a bunch of guys in the back that were now, they've been up front all race, and now they're going to be a little upset that they're back there. So, I don't know, Marshall. I think I need another glass of water here.
Yeah, you can never have enough here in the broadcast booth. It's a stressful job, especially for these Daytona races here. As you see flashing by some of the awesome products available at geezerauthentics.com. T-shirts, mugs, wall fixtures, anything you can imagine. You want to support the series, you want to support a driver, that's where you go. We'll talk about him again before the broadcast is over. But green flag before we know it, and Ashley Lyle gets a superhuman run there. Nick just didn't look ready, but here comes the push as the Virginia Beach, Virginia native Ashley Lyle might be under attack here from your defending series champion in just a moment.
Well, Ashley's in a little bit of trouble here because that's the 00 car is a long ways away from the front bumper of that 4-car, and the top line is really stacked up nice and neat. So we're going to see a big run. Ashley comes to the top here nice and neatly, doesn't do anything out of the ordinary here. She's going to get a good push from that 2-car, and we're going to see if these guys can kind of settle in. I'm starting to see guys thinking about peeking towards making it 3 wide. We're going to start seeing that a lot more often throughout the rest of this race because guys, they know it's time to go. The bank is open, and it's time to cash that check. So here we go, boys and girls. This is what you wanted.
What a crazy gap we saw there just a moment ago. This camera giving us a bit of a vertical view we're seeing from above just to get perspective on what these runs look like and how Ashley's blocking. But wow, Peter Murphy, the gap he had back there to Connor Gibson for 3rd and 4th on lap 1 of a restart at Daytona. That was crazy how much they split up, and that was just a bizarre start just in general. But yeah, props to Ashley Lyle because she controlled that restart all the way through the first lap, and if she can do that again on a potential green-white checkered situation at the end, this is a big push. Sorry, I'm going to pause my sentence. Nick is all over the back bumper of the 45. He's kind of had an uncharacteristic race here, Chris. This just isn't the kind of race Nick runs. He likes to, focus his attention behind him on the runs he can get based on pushes from other people. He's not really the attack with the bumper kind of guy, but he is all over the back of the 45 car, and I don't see how it would be advantageous for him to push her out in front of the rest of the field.
Well, if we kind of flash back to last season's race, second, all over the back bumper of the car of Mark Allen Bivens there, and he didn't quite have the run to make the move, but he kind of stuck towards that and brought that all the way home. So maybe that's another strategy that he's going to try and implement this year, where he'll kind of push the car in front of him to the last lap and then get enough spacing where he can take that run and come away with a victory. Because I think that Nick is a little sick of us talking about his one shortcoming in the Bandit Racing League. So we're going to see if he's going to be able to change that. But these guys are starting to side draft. They're starting to bounce off each other a little bit deeper in the pack here. So I don't know. We're gonna have to see as we have 11 laps to go here. As I'm starting to hear guys, are we going? What are we doing? It's getting intense.
Yes, Jay Rome here. You see the, again, Comox BC native. You see live on board. I saw him have a little bit of movement there on that outside line. He's trying to find a spot here for himself between Keegan Clark and the 87 of Dan Stein Jr., but just no space open for him right now, having to just tuck in and wait. But just if you're anywhere near the top 15 with even 2 or 3 laps to go here at Daytona, that's plenty of time. There is no pressure. But just look at again, to the Hornets analogy, just the swarming around you see here. This not even middle anymore, just the front of the pack, everything from Peter Murphy on back. As we see 3 wide here is David Lakey between James Hartley and that was Kevin Foster there momentarily. Things are getting nutty, and some of those guys that had trouble. So we see a wreck, massive crash, Kevin Foster involved. Upside down goes the 8 car. On his lid, on his roof. That looks like Ryan Newman a couple seasons back, the 2020 Daytona 500. Luckily didn't get wrecked in the roof, and this isn't real world racing, but Crazy stuff. Sean Britt with back quarter panel damage right as we exited the tri-oval. Things all seem to go wrong there. I didn't really catch besides Kevin Foster, who's tagged in that, but I see Brett Guzik going slow with relatively little damage. Ricky Hart Jr., no damage, so that'll be one we have to watch here, Chris. But yeah, Kevin Foster just off the tri-oval brings out the 4th caution of the race, and that'll mean we're going to go back to green with no more than 6 laps to go.
That to me looked like the 6th car James Hartley may have hooked the 8 car there, but that's what happens when you go 3 wide racing. We haven't been 3 wide this entire race, really. Now that the intensity is ramping up, these guys are going to start putting other people in positions that they may have not been in the entire race. So that's a tough break for those guys that were involved. I think that Kevin has already used his fast repair already. We'd have to kind of see how he cycles out here with how his car looks after coming out of the pits here. But yeah, you know, you saw some 3 wide racing. The 84 car of David Leakey there was trying to make moves to get back towards the front. He's been strong. He's been up front this entire race, and the 8 car tried to follow, and unfortunately it just didn't work out.
Well, I feel especially bad here for Hector Martinez in the chat there, who said, or Hector Mendez, I should say, who said, let's get it number 8 right before the unfortunate hook there off the front nose of James Hartley. I think effectively put an end to Kevin Foster's night. I think he had already used a quick repair, and that will be his second there, or would be his second if he had one. And unfortunately, we do not. One quick repair here at Daytona tonight for the Geezer Authentic 75. So there we go. I think potentially the last caution of the night, though. Again, green-white checkers are always in the books. They're always potentially in the equation. So here we go. This is kind of that final act, as I was talking about earlier, that sort of multiple acts philosophy. And as the lights in the pace car are going to go on one more lap. So yeah, we're going to go back to green with 6 laps to go. This again, before we get into the final details you need to know to get us to the end of the race. Again, one more time, do want to talk about geezerauthentics.com, your place for all things Bandit merch. Want to properly get the chance to talk about some of those products there. Of course, we got the GFR racing drivers. I think they all have representation in t-shirts of some sort. We got Christopher Hamilton, Kevin Foster, and of course the defending champion Nick Nickerson. You see there we got Eddie Haggy there and some wall fixtures. The Young Guns racing drivers, so that's anybody including Nolan Gross. That is Keegan Clark. This has turned into Marshall Name All the Young Guns Racing Drivers Trivia. There's a lot of drivers in this series, so I'm not going to go through that right now. But yes, if you're a fan of the Young Guns Racing Drivers, any of the young high potential guys in our series, that's a great way to support them. We have new logos for both Geezer Authentics and, of course, as you've noticed, the Bandit Racing League, that really slick rectangular logo we now have. If you want to rep the broadcast and get some awesome stuff in various product types, as we see somebody, in the background under yellow there, almost got loose and spun. But yeah, you want some t-shirts. They come in a variety of colors. You can customize any color you want. Sizes, you got pretty much everything you could ask for. And of course, hoodies. We got sweatshirts, long sleeve, anything you're looking for. There's a way to find it on geezerauthentics.com and represent the Bandit Racing League as best you can. Of course, all proceeds go right back into the league, and I apologize there for using a Canadian browser with Canadian prices. Basically, just give or take about 20% off that, and that'll be your American price, made very close to cost. They're the best thing we could possibly do here as a win-win here for the series and for you guys, the fans. So geezerauthentics.com is the sponsor of tonight's race on behalf of the league, directly run through the Bandit Racing League. But also, the link is in the description down below if you want to go grab yourself some awesome stuff. If you're a fan of those drivers or just the series in general, that is how to support best. So here we go. Lights in the pace car off. 1 lap to go. It'll be 6 laps to go when we go green this next time by. Ashley Lyle running her first full-time series in the Bandit Racing League in that 45 car. Former winner, again, a couple seasons back at Road America. And she is going to be our first focus of our final through the field here, presented, as always, by Perfect Shine Auto Spa. Thank you to Perfect Shine Auto Spa, as always, for sponsoring the Bandit Racing League and signing on again for season number 11 in the Cup Series. So here we go. Ashley Lyle there on the front row, the first of our top 5, as we're just going to go through the entirety of that top 5 group. Nick Nickerson on the outside here. I mean, just what do you say about the comeback he's made? He was never a doubt once he got back on that lead lap that he'd at least try to make his way back up here. He's on the outside, the 2 car in the number 2 spot. Connor Gibson in the Apex Sim Racing number 31 car, again, Canadian after my own heart. The driver that I think has made his presence known a couple times in a couple races last season, top 5, top 10, not out of the equation, but a win at Daytona would be just a massive step up to his resume, the same way it was last season for Mark Allen Bivens. Then you got Peter Murphy Jr. in the 38 car. He's come 21 spots through the field, started all the way back in 25th. He's up in 4th now. had a great race for himself here. He's made up his way through a couple 3 wides, hasn't been afraid to make those daring maneuvers. If he can keep that up at the end and avoid those costly mistakes that I talked about in that little intro there, then he will have a shot here at his first career win as well. And Jackson Knock, there's another Young Guns Racing driver, the OxyClean 00 car. Rounds off your top 5, and to his outside, again, former winner here at Daytona, Trey Ellis. Those are the big performers here that have done well to get themselves in the top 5 here at the end of the race, so they will be our final focus of your second through the field here. Chris, let's get it going. 6 laps to go. We are ready. Ashley Lyle, Nick Nickerson, Peter Murphy, and Connor Gibson, your top 4. But anybody in the lead lap is still in play. 6 laps to go. The Geezer Authentic 75 comes towards its conclusion.
As we start to see these cars get up through the gears here, I took the liberty upon myself during that caution break to kind of go in the cockpit view of some of these cars here and see who was trying to save fuel. There's a couple drivers clutching it in and coasting around the track, so that is something that we may have to touch on if we get a couple green-white checkers here. But as of right now, everything looks pretty cordial as the 2 car is giving a great push to the 45 as we're starting to see the 38 of Peter Murphy coming up here and trying to challenge for this lead.
Big slide across there. Nolan Gross stuck out in no man's land. Saves it in the background there. You saw him fighting between whether to go the high line or the low line. That 02 car, you see the really cool America-designed livery on that car number. But Ashley Lyle all by her lonesome there. She's the lone one out there. And that front row is a huge run by Trey Ellis. Goes nowhere because if he had all that momentum and put it in the back of Peter Murphy, that was about to be a wreck. So 5 laps to go here at Daytona International Speedway for the Geezer Authentic 75. Presented by Geezer Authentics, and now it's Peter Murphy Jr. in the catbird seat. Nick Nickerson going to fall back to 3rd here, just did not get that inside line to get the momentum they were looking for.
Let me tell you something, when you're out there that far, like the 45 and 38 right now, that is a scary moment because you know these guys are going to be closing really, really fast. You're going to see the 2 car really come close to this 38 as he maybe lifts a little bit there, but those runs come at you so fast you have no idea where to go with them, and you don't want to be the only car up there because you have nowhere to predict on where to go.
For the back of the field to get a guy that had a great race early on. Now things have kind of fallen apart, but Mike right there, you see forming a 3 wide. He's trying to get going up there towards the front. Even if he can't come away with the win, he just wants to maximize his finishing position, start his rookie season off on a high. He's looking to go on the attack. Jason Greenwell to his inside. As we see a couple guys there, Eddie Hagge is the last guy there in that front inside pack, so might still have time to get himself back up to the front as we see Christopher Hamilton and Curtis Yancey up on the high line in front of him. 2 guys that wouldn't be bad to team up with is Ashley Lyle back to the high side. It's high, low, high, low. She is going wherever she needs to be at a moment's notice, but that fast-paced defensive blocking ability, what has won races, talk the 2021 Xfinity Series race at Daytona, Austin Cindric, the greatest race management I've ever seen defensively at a super speedway. She's pulling that off right now, but one bad block, Chris, and you're looking the wrong way.
Absolutely. As we see the 84 car has made his way back up here, it gives a big push to the 81.
Oh, Peter Murphy, 3 wide.
Here. Oh, it's getting dicey. These guys know it's time to go. These guys and girls are pushing here as the 81 car goes to the point. Caution is out.
It is indeed. It'll be a green-white checker here, folks. We are at that point now where this would end the race otherwise, but we're going to give you guys green flag racing to cap it off. Who was involved there? I just talked about him. I guess commentators curse. Eddie Hagge is upside down and not even looking the wrong way, just looking he's looking the right way as far as the corner he was about to take, but the wheel's still spinning on the back of that 81 car. So good to see he's burning the gas out of it. Might as well give it a shot here, but Eddie Hagge, the race is going to end in about the last way he wanted to, especially as the only car seemingly involved in a wreck there. Holy cow! Massive barrel roll. Again, that exact same spot we saw the wreck a little bit earlier here, Chris, just right after the tri-oval. And going to try to get a better angle here. Going to try to get a more elevated angle here. So Mike Wright, we were talking about getting aggressive there a moment ago. The 14 car trying to work his way through. I think he was involved. We're going to go to the butt kicker racing replay. Somebody, that was the 11 car of, I think, David Eldridge, lost a lot of momentum there. He backed up into Bill Harkins, who had to check up the field behind him. And then that's when that contact was made between Wright, the 32 of Condis, and the 97 of Hagge, which will bring up potentially your last caution of the race here.
Yeah, that is a tough break for those guys there. The trial was pretty tough because you do have to put a little wheel in it, but the car gets a little upset, especially if you're getting leaned on a little bit. So just a bunch of cars stacking up there with nowhere to go.
So I would just say if you're, before I play it, if you don't like motion or you don't like too much happening, maybe don't take a look at this replay. But we are going to go on board here with Eddie Hagge off the end of the trial. We'll see exactly what he looked at as he flipped and just, my goodness, the ride he took. And then got tapped, I think it was Steve Ulrich who ran right into him well upside down. And another big wreck similar to Kevin Foster upside down off the exit of the trial. Well, it's It's been a night for flashy wrecks here tonight, hasn't it, Chris? And we haven't had many compared to the usual Daytona race, but the ones we have had have been pretty stellar.
Yeah, this is iRacing must have worked on their physics a little bit, because normally we see cars trying to take off like a Tesla rocket, but this has been pretty good tonight. Some good replays for me to post later on the social media. By the way, I'll plug myself. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Bandit Racing League, and on Instagram at Bandit Racing League. Give us a follow there. But we have 2 attempts at a green-white checkered here tonight. That's how we do it in the Bandit Racing League. This will be attempt 1. If we do not get a yellow flag and come to the white flag, the next flag will end the race. Same thing on the second one. The next flag will end the race. So this is where people are going to go for broke. Another guy that I want to mention, I was mentioning before the yellow here, that 84 car has found his way back to the front. I think he's really hungry tonight, so I expect him to go for broke. He's dominated a good portion of this race. He's had that car up front. He's worked his way from the back of the field back to the front. And here he is again in a very favorable position. I do like that bottom line here. You're going to be behind the leader. And he was working really well with that 81 car. So presumably he will be starting behind him, and I really like that for him. But this is going to get wild. I know we've been saying that for the past about 20 laps or so, but this is it here. This is where you're going to go for broke. You're going to put the car wherever you think you need to go and not care about who's on the side of you. This is the time. This is the time to get your win and punch your ticket to the playoffs.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Chris. This is a great opportunity for any driver if they intend to run the full season. You could be looking at the playoffs right now, and one guy we're looking at in a different way is Jay Rome, current leader, the Comox BC native. We've never talked to him in the broadcast booth. I'm not going to pull him up here right now just because, first race of the season, guys are still getting used to the car, getting used to the series once again. We're not going to pressure guys too much, maybe not unless it's one of the veterans, until probably next week at Las Vegas and onwards. But yeah, what a race for Jay Rome if he's able to pull this one off. It would be a great performance. He's been up there all race. Started back in 34th, almost the tail end of the field. Very rarely do you win a race from the 17th row, but if there's any place to do it, it is Daytona. But to his outside, I mean, Ashley Lyle is just like stellar. The Virginia Beach, Virginia native has probably been the fastest of anybody in the second half of the race. Proved that she had the capability to block as she was all over the racetrack. Nobody could seem to find a way by there. And that last little stint until eventually the dam just kind of burst and Rome was able to get that opportunity. So that front row is going to be an exciting one. But of course, Keegan Clark in the outside line, that 74 car for Young Guns Racing, has been constant there at the front. I don't think I've seen him outside the top 10 except for pit cycles all race. And just kind of we'll call it your full send fun fact of the race. Currently, as far as my math goes, 87 spots combined have been gained from the start of the race until now by your top 3. So these 3 up front have proven definitively once and for all you don't need to qualify particularly well here at Daytona, and you can still find yourself at the end with some good racecraft and some good patience, which all 3 of these have displayed.
I love that statistic. That kind of speaks to what I was talking about at the beginning of the broadcast. It doesn't matter where you start. It all matters where you finish. And we're about to find out here that 81 car made some really impressive moves right before that caution came out. But right now, it all matters about this restart and who you have behind you. How much do you trust them? Because it all goes out the window once that white flag waves, and we're about to really see who trusts each other the best here. The bottom lane has been getting the best of the restarts here all night. So let's see what we got.
One more time before we get going here, I want to thank our sponsors, Perfect Shine Auto Spa, as always, and of course, Apex Sim Racing for allowing us to put on what is sure to be one of the best finishes we've seen in the Bandit Racing League. 2 laps to go, 5th restart of the night, and this is your opener for Season 11 of the Bandit Racing League of the Cup Series. Nolan Grossman crash right off the line. Thank you, Chris, for mentioning those rules about green-white checkers, because we're about to put them into practice. Massive wreck. And we're still green. We don't have a caution yet. We're still racing here, folks. I don't know what's happening. We're still green. So, oh, there we go. Yellow flag. What do you think happened there, Chris? That's one of the latest cautions I've ever seen for a wreck that looked like it had 15 people in it.
As a former race controller, I think that was a little lapse in maybe some of the hotkeys that we have here in sim racing. But nonetheless, that was just people trying to get the best run possible. It looked like the 74 was really trying to shove the 45 to the point there and maybe spun the tires a little bit too much, caused some of the guys to go down to the apron, and once they re-merged, especially with the banking there, that really upsets the car, and that just caused chaos. So here we go again. This is the second one and the last one, so whatever you got here, that's it.
heartbreak there for Keegan Clark. I just talked about him up there in that second row here on the final restart. Just looked so promising. But now we've waited a little bit. Just want to make sure we get time to figure out all who is involved and give you guys that info. But here we go. Your Buck Kicker Racing replay here. And I don't know why they decided to jump back to Matt Crockett there in the Santa car, who didn't seemingly get all that involved in the incident. We want to go further up to, of course, Keegan Clark, the first guy that I think got kind of caught there. And Chris, there was just a lot of confusion there on that restart. Nolan Gross there jumped below the line. Curtis Yancey dropped below. I think there was a check up there from the front that I just don't think the guys were expecting here. But again, there is the gap, and we'll see it again here. 74 into the back of the 45 of Lyle, and then just lost speed, got tagged by the 4. That was a weird incident. I don't know if, Chris, you saw it and you have a perspective on that.
Yeah, like I had mentioned, I think that was just kind of someone trying to get really aggressive on the restart there. They know that it's time to go, and the restart will make or break the rest of your race. You can drop back about 10 positions very quickly on a restart. So you're trying to maximize this restart, get on the back bumper of somebody and start shoving them. But it's really tough as you're getting through the gears, especially on older tires. I know tires don't matter too much here at super speedways, but they certainly do matter in restarts. But man, the polar opposites, the yin and yang of this race, the first half of this race, we saw, no real chaos except for the green flag pit stops. But this second half of the race has been pure chaos. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I don't even, I don't know how it happens. I really don't get it in the sim, what it is that, that exact moment that I think it is really at the beginning, Chris, that the driver's tensions really do build up, that it's inherent to a driver. You have this patient sort of mindset, works best at Daytona. But, in the cockpit, you're a driver at the end of the day. You're inherently aggressive. That's why we do what we do, because we want to win. We want to make that pass one by one throughout the field. And I think that builds up in those first 30 or 40 laps. And then once we have that first caution, I think the dam kind of bursts. And that's what really drives that second half of the race, because suddenly those tensions have been building. And once guys are given an opportunity to, again, make those one-by-one passes in quick succession, because you can gain 20 spots in a lap here at Daytona, I think we finally get to see that pure racing instinct of these drivers. And that's what I like. I'm a guy who comes from a road course background. I'm a big fan of just foot to the floor, tire conservation won't be put aside. And I think here at Daytona, it's just pure racing. I know there's patience there for a while, but in these last couple laps, it's pure aggression. It's pure desire to win. And I think this series has it in spades. You'll see that all season. I think that's what makes the Bandit Racing League such a fun league, is that everybody cares. And especially in a winner goes to the playoffs sort of mentality, or sort of format like we have in this series for season number 11. That's what we're going to see this year. So I think that's the big difference from first half to second half, and I think it's going to be at its greatest boiling point here in the last 2 laps. And the fact that next caution will end the race is a little bit terrifying for me, because I wouldn't be surprised if we see another early wreck. But I think no matter at this point who wins this race, it's going to be an individual that has that racing drive, that racing motivation. And though some may say the winner at Daytona is maybe on a different level to the rest of the winners, say in Atlanta or a more technical track, I think it displays a different kind of skill set, and that's why I'm going to be proud to see the winner of this race here automatically punch their ticket into the playoffs.
I couldn't agree with you any more than with your assessment there. I think this is a very special place to win at. This is a track that I've always wanted to win at, the Bandit Racing League. I want to win at any time I'm in the Bandit Racing League. Haven't done so yet, but eventually we'll get there. But nonetheless, this is go time. Whatever you got, you're laying it all out. It doesn't matter. Like I said, you're going to lean on people. You're going to bump people. You're going to do whatever you can, because you know the next flag, it may not have anything to do with you, is going to end the race. So with that being said, anybody from first to our last person on the lead lap can potentially win this race right now. Who do you got?
Well, my original pick, Mike Wright, is effectively out of it. He's actually still in 18th, to be fair. He's not too far back there. We see the 14 car, the driver who led a large majority of the front of this race tonight, Greensboro, North Carolina native. But you know what? I'm gonna go off the grid a little bit. It's always somebody you don't expect. I'm gonna go Peter Murphy Jr., driver the number 38 car, outside of row number 2. I like that positioning. I think Lyle and Rome are gonna get into it, if not Lakey. I think not necessarily a wreck. I think they're just gonna touch. Give me Peter Murphy, something a little bit out there, but a guy who's been fast all night. How about you, Chris?
Yeah, I want to go with the 84 car. I really do, because I really like the guy, and I think that he has a really good skill set. But as we're coming to green here, I'm going with the 51 car. He's fired a little bit back there, but he's going to be real aggressive on this last lap, and it may come in front of him, may come behind him. But we are green for the final time tonight.
final time of the night indeed. In the Lyle in a row, we have a wreck immediately. Lakey out of the line. Can he save it? I don't think he goes around. But David Lakey trying to find him. He is out of it. We're staying green. So David Lakey, as he spins in the background solo. I don't think I've ever seen a commentator's jinx as immediate as that one. That's going to go in the all-time record books. But caution is out. Is that the race there, Chris?
I believe this is the race. They may race back to the flag, but that should be the race. That should be the race. It looks like the 45 car is going to take this one.
We're seeing her swerving on the backstretch. I think we're done here, folks. That's going to call it quits. Crazy that first wreck was as delayed as it was, and yet that one, a single car spin, is going to bring us to the end. But waited it out. We're going to have to go back to the replay there because I didn't actually see her pass Rome. And we'll know here if we get the white flag here, this race is official. Still swerving around, celebrating. I think that is it. Is this going to be the white? Your white flag. There you go. So Ashley Lyle will pick up her second win in series history. The Apex Sim Racing white flag. We're pretty much full speed here, actually, these cars who are coming around to collect the checkered flag. But that's it, Chris. We're going to go to the post race here in a moment. We'll watch that proper finish there and cap it off properly here in just a moment. But we'll wait for the victory lap here because this thing is done. And it's a little bit disappointing, I would say, Chris, to not get it done under green and waiting for that really good finish here. But we'll go here to the replay in just a moment and go to your post race momentarily. But here we go. We'll call it like a regular finish off a 3 and 4. Almost full pace as the 45 car still running quick. She is not slowing down here now that she's got the win. The pace car is going to take us across the line to the checkered flag. It's Lyle, Murphy, Rome, Knock, Nickerson, Stein, Flagar, Gibson, Gross, and Paul. Your top 10. But your winner in the Geezer Authentic 75, first of season 11, Ashley Lyle picks up the race win in the 45 car at Daytona. Obviously, massive congratulations here to Ashley Lyle for a race that, again, unfortunately cannot end under green, but it does. I think it does absolutely speak to what I talked about there in that last caution right before we were ready to go green, is that just put yourself in that scenario. Get ready to go for whatever the end of the race is, whether it's to the green flag or what it's to the checkered flag under green in a photo finish, or it's just a race to wait for that yellow flag to come out. Once they saw David Lakey go around, as far as those cars at the front, you just wanted to be the one at the front of that group. So Ashley Lyle here, she's going to celebrate, run it around, and again, the fastest I've ever seen anybody run the final lap of a race that ends under caution, and now the fastest victory lap I've ever seen too, as she comes to get the flag.
Yeah, I mean, she dominated that second portion of the race there as guys got cycled out. So she really showed it to these boys tonight, and she made some really aggressive moves to get to the front. If she punched her ticket to the playoffs, I'd be super stoked about that. I know that she's had some issues with work, making it work for the league, so we're going to have to see how that all plays out throughout the rest of the season, but super happy for her to get this win. I believe this is her second or third win in the Bandit Racing League. I have to go back and check. But she is a force to be reckoned with at pretty much any style of racing that we go to. So I'm really excited for her, and I'm really excited to see how this plays out for the rest of the season.
Well, we're going to go here in just a moment to go get your final interview, get the thoughts from Ashley Lyle. We're going to go there in just a moment. Very quickly, we are going to go back and get a quick replay there on the wreck itself, the situation there with David Lakey, because I know people are going to be curious. So there's the checkered, there's the white. Just got to go find the exact moment he went around. So here is your replay there. Got to get the right angle. There we go. So David Lakey, you see here the 84 car driving through the infield. What put him there is the question, and then we will get to your final results. So this is coming to the green flag again, that final restart. What does he get into? Is it a push there from the 2 car? I'm curious, Chris. Just let me know whenever you get the angle on that. But it almost looked like it was a bit of a nudge from Nick, trying to speed him up as much as possible. I don't know if the 84 car of Lakey checked up, but definitely contact there that led to the incident.
Yeah, to me it looks like kind of like the first wreck there is a bunch of guys trying to get up to speed here to get the best run possible, and I think that shove from the 2 car maybe just upset the 84 a little bit. It was a little bit of an accordion effect off the back of that 81, and unfortunately the 84 was was the victim in that situation, but that is a tough break. I did want to see this go green to the end, as I was just saying. I didn't want to jinx the guy, but unfortunately it didn't work out for him. But he will be back. He was real strong tonight, and it's going to be an interesting season for him. I think he's going to be really strong all season, so we'll see how that plays out for him.
Well, you wanted the exact stat there, Chris, as to how many wins we've seen from Ashley Lyle in the Bandit Racing League. This will be her second, the first coming at Road America back in season number 9. Again, one of the only drivers to ever beat Nick Nickerson at a road course. It was her, so you got to think, even if tonight's win didn't come to fruition, we could have absolutely potentially seen a win later this year at a road course. But here we go. We are ready for your first winner's interview of season number 11 of the Bandit Racing League. Your winner at Daytona, Ashley Lyle. Just need a moment here to get her into the broadcast booth, and we'll be ready to go for your interview. Just got to go down the list here. We have so many names now in the Bandit Racing League. It may take a moment. There we go. The sole driver for Linguini Racing, Ashley Lyle. We talked a lot about the teams tonight, but it's an effectively independent driver who will get the win. Now in the broadcast booth, I believe, is Ashley Lyle. Ashley, you got a copy?
I do have a copy, and this is, in fact, Ashley. Hello.
Ashley, you are the winner at Daytona in a race that was up in the air at the start, but at the end you had locked down. Chris and I were saying all the way throughout the end there, you looked like you just had a different pace and a different defensive ability to the rest of the field. And you bring it home, your first win in 2 years. What's the emotion off the bat, and just how are you defending so well there towards the end and keeping it locked down up front?
I am, first of all, incredibly kind of chuckling over it's the first race back, and, this is like one of the 3 times I've ever won at Daytona, and I think all of them came in the last month across a couple different leagues.
No way.
So, yeah, no, it's been like incredibly weird, out of character Daytona few weeks for me. I'm normally not that good here. But pretty recently, I kind of figured out the little trick to leading the lanes a little bit, and that's been helping out quite a lot, I feel. Mostly, though, at the end of this, I just kind of got lucky. I screwed up one of the lane shifts one time, then got behind B81, and after that, it was just we didn't really have like enough of a run after a restart to really battle it out, which I would have liked to have seen that, but then again, I might have run out of gas if that happened. So,
yeah, that was definitely a question mark. Chris and I weren't sure. We saw everybody trying to conserve there at the start of that final 20 lap stint, and then it was only when those cautions started to come out that I think everybody got very worried. But yeah, what was it like balancing the strategy there at the end? Because I know you and everybody else was close. Were you playing different, thinking that we might get another caution, or were you just going to be foot to the floor in that last stint once you knew we didn't have any green-white checkers left?
Run or dry, homie.
Yeah.
Run or dry. That's yeah. At that point, I saw like on the last stop, I didn't see, or last caution, or second to last rather. I'm very sorry. I didn't see enough people starting to go down for me to want to risk it. Because if like 15 cars had gone, yeah, I probably would have gone and topped off, but it wasn't really enough. So at that point, I was just kind of hoping. If we had gone green at any point with the other restarts there, I would have been fine. It was just like the additional couple laps was the concern. But right. The other question? Yeah, dude, I hate fuel mileage. I cannot stand it.
No, as somebody who comes from a road course background too, it's not my wheelhouse. Not especially not at the ovals. It's something that I think it definitely sets many drivers apart, and it's absolutely crucial here at Daytona. But yeah, you seem to have it figured out there enough that when it came just time again to put the pedal to the metal, put the foot to the floor, and block 43 drivers behind you, you did up to perfection. Again, that defense, some of the best we've ever seen here at Daytona, and even though again it will end under yellow, it didn't end under green as I'm sure the fans at home were hoping it. It ended with some great defense and a very well-deserved drive there. So I have absolutely no problem naming you as the first driver to win this season and effectively lock yourself into the playoffs. Now that's where I got to ask, big picture, because first win of the season, second of your career. We know you're fast pretty much everywhere when you have the time to put in, and this will lock you to the playoffs if you can make enough races. What's the season look like for you? Do you think you're going to be able to make enough that you'll be able to get that free pass into the playoffs? And if so, what's the goal for season 11? Do you think potential championship contention is in the cards?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. As long as I get to the second to last round, Richmond's in that. So, Richmond's one of the races I've won here before, and it was not exactly dominant because largely of Nick and Brandon. However, it's one of my stronger tracks down here. Let me put it that way. But yeah, this effectively just takes a lot of the potential concern out of things. Fortunately, I can make the entire season. This is also my second race after last weekend, leaving a debatably abusive relationship. So it's kind of cool to, win.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm just gonna go for wins the entire season. Like the next handful of races, I'm just gonna, if I can in the position to take a fuel mileage gamble at the end of the race, it means nothing to me if it doesn't work out. So might as well just go for broke every week.
That's amazing. I'm so glad that, again, given your circumstances lately, awesome to get the win there. Congratulations on that. But also just to in a season where you're going to be in a lot more races, the 45 car is going to be a car we're going to get used to seeing. Awesome. You can remind people in the series just how fast you are. And I'm sorry, three wins in Bandit Racing League history. Forgot about the Richmond win the other year. That was a crazy race. I think that was the finale that season. I think it was season 9. So really fun race. You've only won fun races so far. And we got Chris Ferreira up here in the broadcast booth. If you got any questions, Chris, I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, actually, I was bringing it up during the broadcast. First of all, congratulations on the win. Really big win here to start your season off. So kudos to you on that. But I was talking about it throughout the race. What is your approach when it comes to leading these things? It's so hard to try to judge which lane to block there. So I just love to gather your perspective on how do you choose which lane to stick with, and how you manage this second half of the race, because you were really dominant that second half.
It's a combination of paying attention to the runs behind you and paying attention to the car that's immediately behind you, right? The majority of the green flag race portion that I led close to the end, I was fortunate enough to have Nick behind me. There isn't anyone else. He's one of the people in iRacing in general that I would trust the most behind me at pretty much any track, except a short track. He might get a little testy with the bumper, but at least at a plate track for sure, I'll trust him until there's no one else left on the track. So outside of that, look a couple cars deep behind him and see how that run is building up. And if, like, coming off the previous corner, starting down the straightaway, notice that they're starting to gain steam, then maybe consider popping up there to, at least take the run a little bit.
Well, you seem to know what you're doing here at the super speedways. That technique, that racecraft, that was all we were talking about in the pre-race, and it's great that you in some way proved us right. Our race picks may not have been right whatsoever, but the way it finished absolutely did, and the skills it took to win absolutely did. So congratulations, Ashley. 3rd career win in Bandit Racing League Series history. Your first of the year. You get a one-up on everybody in the very first week, and maybe by the time we get to August, you'll be capping it off the same way you started it tonight. But you know what to do. You've been here a couple times in the broadcast booth in the past. If you have any shout-outs, friends and family watching at home, any sponsors you want to talk about or anything you want to mention, now's your chance.
Yeah, first off, thank you all for the broadcast. Always great. Definitely gonna tomorrow I work from home, fortunately, so I'm going to have this on the background for at least the first portion of the day. Shout out to Bill for letting me back in here in the first place, because I'll be the first one to admit my leaving wasn't exactly on the best of terms on my part in the first place, but fortunately he's a man who believes in second chances. I want to thank my mom as well, because she's cool.
Amazing. And then hopefully she was watching, or we'll watch this back and see a really, really, really great performance that
she does not care about motorsports at all. I don't want to interrupt you, but she does not care about anything motorsports related. She will never see this or know this happened.
Well, if you ever want ammo to make a really good case that anybody should ever watch motorsport, you dominate in a race at the end like that in a track with so many cars. I think this is some good footage to use. So hopefully it'll come in handy in some capacity. But again, Ashley, congratulations! Such a big race, such a great win, and that's about as good as it gets at a super speedway. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. I look forward to adding a little more excitement to the rest of the season.
That's what we expect. Thank you.
Absolutely. Y'all enjoy your night.
I always wonder whenever anybody says absolutely if it's ever a reference to my my old catchphrase here in the broad. I'm sure it's not, but I always get curious there as we finish up interview number 1. We'll take the race winner banner down, but we got 2 more quick ones to go here. We're going to go to the guy who finished in 2nd, the Millerton, New York native, Mr. Peter Murphy Jr. He was my pick for the race win. I came close. His graphic is currently incorrect, so we'll fix that up there for just a moment. But we're still going to bring him in the broadcast booth, and now scrolling above the box here during the interview will be the final results here up on the ticker up top. So to find out where your favorite driver finished, we'll go there, but we will do a final results proper at the end, courtesy of Perfect Shine Auto Spa. But for now, in the broadcast booth, we're going to bring in Peter Murphy Jr., 2nd place finisher in tonight's season opener at Daytona. And from what I can tell, I don't believe Peter Murphy is currently available. Does not appear to be online here in our chat
According
service.
to the league owner, Peter had to run, but he will catch up with us next week for an interview. So we will catch up with him either prior to the start of next race or after. maybe he'll be in the victory lane. So we'll see. But we will catch up with Peter at another time.
Yeah, heading to Vegas, absolutely. Peter's a guy that in the past has been really solid at a lot of those mile and a half and those sort of intermediate ovals. So don't be surprised if, we do that interview again post-race, but we'll make sure we do it and maybe touch on it pre-race and check in with him before the race starts for next week's broadcast at Las Vegas, of course, as we get ready here with Jay Rome, whose picture we have here. So we'll try to, we have his actual Skype feed, so we'll try to set him up there as I talk. But as always, next week we're back, same time, same place, 9 o'clock here on Wednesday for the Bandit Racing League second round of season number 11 here in the Cup Cars in Las Vegas. Again, apologies, we don't have an official schedule tonight. We will get that proper graphic going for you next week and the rest of the series, so you know what our playoffs look like, what the entire order looks like, and our format for this year and where we're going after Vegas. But if you want to go check it out, again, go to the banditracingleague.com website. Link is as always in the description below. No excuse to not know where we are week to week because you got a great website that provides it for you. So to check out all the details, to get the link for the broadcast, again, you go to geezerauthentics.com, pick up your Bandit merch, and get yourself a way to represent the series. That is how you do it. There is Jay Rome. We are about to hear his voice momentarily. Let's get ready to go here. Jay Rome, we got to find him. There he is. And Jay Rome, welcome to the broadcast booth, my good man. You got a copy?
How's it going?
We are doing pretty well, and hopefully so are you. May not have been the win that looked like it might have been the cards there off that final restart, but a third place to start off your year at Daytona, not bad, I would say. How are you feeling about that one, even if you just come up short there off the caution?
You know what? That's these things are a crapshoot. So if you can finish third, I'll take it for sure. You know what I mean? Congratulations to Ashley there. I mean, I just had nothing for her there on that last restart. I think we were both spinning our tires pretty bad. So congrats to her and happy with that. It was an interesting race, not really what I was expecting, but top 3, I'll take it.
Yeah, I would. You were a fixture there at the front too, all the way throughout the race. You know, a crapshoot it may be. Definitely, you definitely showed that you were able to manage the crap better than a lot of people could. You came from the back there. You started, I think, 34th, worked your way all the way up in the end to third place. So, what's the kind of progression look like for you? You know, we do these every year annually, the super speedway races. Do you think you have any sort of particular ability there, working your way through? Do you think you're a patient driver, and how do you think that'll apply to the rest of the season for you if you have those skills?
No, these tracks I kind of do the Dale Jr. thing, where take every run kind of thing, you know, just kind of whatever. I started at the back because I missed my last. I was looking for a top 5 qualifying spot, but I missed the time by, I don't know, 5 seconds, or not very much. And so you start in the back, and then it's we got kind of hung out there a little bit, and you just kind of work your way up, and try and take every run you can. In my opinion, I mean, everybody does it different.
Yeah.
So some people hang at the back and wait for all the chaos to go. But if you look at this race, I mean, how many laps did we go without a caution? It was so you can't. You get stuck back there, and then you're half a lap down kind of thing. So it's whatever. I love this type of racing. It's awesome. I love it. I don't know what's gonna do. I'm gonna reach out to Cody there because he offered to give some guys some tips, or guys and gals, I should say, because we got our butt whooped by a gal. But I'm gonna reach out to him and see if I can learn some stuff and go from there.
Awesome. Glad to hear you. I know Cody's definitely one of the premier guys in the series. If there's anybody you want to learn from, it's him, and really cool that he's reaching out with that initiative. I'll leave it to you, Chris, our other commentator up here in the booth. You got anything?
Yeah, Jason. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe this may be your first time up here post race in an interview. Just to kind of get the viewers here to get to know you a little bit. It's a really strong performance tonight. That car looked really stout towards the end of the race there, and I really thought you were going to be able to put it all together. Unfortunately, the car didn't play out that way. But looking forward towards the rest of the season, where do you think is going to be your strong point, and where do you think you can capitalize and put yourself back up here, maybe actually in the in victory lane there? So what are you looking forward to for the rest of the season?
The speedways, basically, the auto clubs and stuff like that. The bigger time. I mean, there's a lot. That's where I'm gonna ask for a little bit of help with the smaller tracks. Road courses, whatever. I'll run it and finish where you finish it. But these races I love. They're a crapshoot, but I'm looking forward to the speedways. The 2.5 mile tracks, or sorry, the 2 mile tracks, and even the 1.5 miles, like the Charlottes and whatnot. I think I can hold my own there, but we will see, because everybody in this league is very, very good. So I just got to try and do my best and see what happens.
For sure. I love the approach today. It's a pleasure to finally get a chance to talk to you. I think Chris is right. I don't think we've ever had the chance to properly meet here on the broadcast. And I always mention, I hope I don't oversimplify as the fact that you are a Canadian, as I am. So it's great to get some representation up there. The Comox BC native I see. So it's awesome to see we're getting represented here north of the border in the podium. But no, I love the attitude. I love the approach you have this season. I love hearing you're going to make that extra attempt here to work with Cody, get better at some of those tracks you may have some less experience at. And I also love you got your camera on Skype here. I think you're going to be our only interview tonight. You will have one. So I appreciate every aspect of it. I love it from a broadcast perspective. So it's a pleasure to talk to you, Jay. And now's your chance. I know it's your first time in the broadcast booth, but if you got any shout outs you want to give anybody at home you want to talk to on the broadcast, or just any sponsors you want to mention as well, now's the time.
No, not really. Just thanks to you guys for the great work you do. I love watching these broadcasts. I've missed a few races last year, and I still watch them just because your guys is the way you do it's really great. And of course, thanks to Bill for putting all this on, and it's a really good group of people here. So I'm really proud to be here and whatnot, and just join.
That's awesome. We're so happy to have you again. I'm sincerely happy that we got the chance to talk to you here tonight, and with that, I think we're about ready to wrap it up. But again, incredible performance, top 3 tonight in a race that, again, I think if Ashley had the best defense tonight, you were an offensive juggernaut there from the back to the front, and you come up just short. So have a great rest of your week, Jay. Good luck with that practice you're doing with Cody, and have fun watching it back. You're definitely a large fixture of the broadcast tonight, and we can't wait to see you in the future.
Well, that's awesome, guys. Thank you very much for all you do.
Thank you, sir.
And have a good night.
You too. There you go. That'll about cap us off here for tonight's interviews. And we had a question in the chat there. We're going to keep it to 2 interviews tonight. We don't want these to ever run too long. We're again talk to Peter Murphy next week. We'll make sure that we don't miss out for him, because anybody that makes it to the top 3, it's your prize. We want to make sure you always get the chance to get represented here in the broadcast booth in some sort. And it's how you guys at home get to meet some of the drivers in this series that maybe don't always get represented. So that is awesome, and it's awesome that we get to talk to him next week, and it's awesome for Jay and Ashley that they are podium sitters this week at Daytona to start off the year hot. So to wrap us up before we get to the final thoughts here, we're going to go through your final results here courtesy of Apex Sim Racing. Again, use code BANDIT at checkout on apexsimracing.com to get anything related to sim racing accessories, button boxes, wheelbases, pedals, anything you need to get your sim started to race with us here in the Bandit Racing League, or any form of motorsport, any racing sim you want. That is the place to do it. Code BANDIT, or use the link in the description down below this video to get 5% off your purchase. With that, Apex Sim Racing final results. Ashley Lyle will come home as your race winner, first winner of the season. And yes, to put it the way Jay did, the woman beat the boys tonight. That is about all you could expect there from somebody who's had a ton of great performances in the past, and great to see her get that 3rd win. Peter Murphy Jr. will talk to him next week for GBR. He comes across the line in 2nd, that awesome-looking 38 paint scheme. Jay Rome is our final podium sitter. Again, first time we've talked to him tonight. We just spoke to him. Jackson Knock, underrated performance tonight. Really awesome job there for Blue Motorsports there in the 00. He finishes in 4th, just ahead of Nick Nickerson, who doesn't come home in the podium as we're used to seeing, but he's in 5th. We'll talk to him plenty. Don't worry if you're a Nick Nickerson fan of our defending champion. He'll be here on the broadcast all the time this season. Dan Stein Jr. comes home in 6th. Mason Flagar in 7th there for, he's actually independent this season. Connor Gibson for Young Guns Motorsports, just ahead of his teammate, and Nolan Gross in the 02 car. And then it's Hayden Paul, who rounds off your top 10. Curtis Yancey in 11th for Ignite RC, new team this season, ahead of Chad Eldridge, who had a good race there in the 11. Ricky Hart Jr. recovers all the way back to 13th. Not a bad haul of points for the GFR Racing number 1 car, ahead of Zach Hillman in that awesome Oreo scheme, and the pompous man himself, Jason Greenwell. Joshua McQuiggan leads Mike Wright, who again, really good night tonight. I was hoping for a result to match his speed there at the beginning. Unfortunately, just didn't work out for our new rookie, but awesome to see him have a great performance tonight as he did. Brett Guzik then in 18th, ahead of Sean Britt, 19th. Benny Hogan in 20th. Dawson Guzik finishes 21st, ahead of Matt Crockett and Terry Condis, 22nd and 23rd, respectively. Paul Wilson finishes 24th. Hunter Henry in 25th. Christopher Hamilton for GFR Racing in 26th. Bill Harkins, of course, your series founder and series owner, in 27th. A really good race for him. It was Chris's pick for the win and came darn close if it weren't for a couple bad cautions at the end. James Hartley for JK Racing comes home in the 28th position, and this will take us to the end of the field, as it's Benjamin Lacey in 29th. Not the way he wanted to start his season with the new 785 racing team, a guy who won 4 races last year. He'll win races this year, unfortunately just not tonight. Steve Ulrich rounds out your top 30. David Lakey, one of the fastest of all night. Crazy to see him outside of the top 30, but that's Daytona for you. A great performance only results in a 31st. Same with Keegan Clark. Everything goes for him as well. Same with Trey Ellis in 32nd, 33rd. Caden Bailey in 34th. Kevin Foster, again on behalf of Perfect Shine Auto Spa. Really good race for him. He led some laps tonight. Unfortunately, only 35th due to the Daytona factor of it all. And then it's Eddie Hagge and Cody Welch, who unfortunately had some internet troubles all night. We'll round out your field, but actually impressive that only 14 laps down for Cody Welch. We almost had a full field finish the race tonight here, Chris. So generally speaking, I think one of the big talking points going forward is going to be how impressively clean this race was, and hopefully that's a good sign to the rest of the Bandit Racing League season. But Chris, final thoughts here, my man, before we get to our sponsors and wrap it up for tonight, and we let you guys continue on with your Wednesday night. Just what did you think tonight? We're back here in the Bandit Racing League. We finally got the dust off, and we got a really, really fun race to show for you here with a winner, not a first-time winner, but somebody that will be making their debut this season full-time.
First and foremost, it is so good to be back. I'm sure you can agree. I'm sure the fans can agree. This was great to get back and have a fun race tonight. It was really exciting. As you alluded to, it was a little bit of a yin and yang here. We had a very calm first half of the race and absolute chaos in the second half of the race, and that's kind of what I expected going into this thing. But man, what a great product that we put on tonight, and I'm really proud of all of it. Thank you for everybody that showed up tonight. I think I saw that the peak viewers were somewhere around the 60 or 65. We really can't do this without you guys. We have our new affiliate sponsors here with Butt Kicker and several others that we're really trying to establish ourselves here. So thank you guys for supporting us and them. We really appreciate that. As far as what we're looking forward to for the rest of the season, man, I'm just really excited to show up every week. We're gonna have some really exciting racing. I think that tonight speaks for that. I think this car was a really good choice, really good package, and I'm super stoked to be back. Thank you again to the fans for showing up tonight, and I'm looking forward to what's to come. I think that I'm going to work on Ashley's race winner graphic here so she can send it to her mom or put it on her mom's fridge. Despite her not being too involved with motorsports, I think she'll appreciate a nice race winner graphic here that we'll post on social media, and that will kind of bring us full circle here. Make sure you guys follow us on social media, Bandit Racing League on Facebook, Bandit Racing League on Instagram. Thank you guys. It's been super fun. Marshall, it's so good to be back with you. I can't wait to see how the rest of the season plays out. I know I was a little nervous coming into this night tonight, knocking the dust off, but I think we did that pretty quickly, and I think the fans will agree.
I like to think we did, and I cannot put into words, Chris, how much stress it took off me before the season started to hear that you'd be pretty much full-time, if not the entire season this year. I can't wait to do this weekly, call it alongside you here on these Wednesdays. I have so much fun. I know you do too, and just we couldn't do this without you guys watching at home. The fan support to come back tonight, really good turnout, really good viewership, really good engagement. That's what I love. We love you guys talking. We use you guys. We try to answer questions because it usually fills in the gaps where we make mistakes as commentators. But so amazing to get your perspectives out there, and just unbelievable to see you guys coming back. I hope you guys had a fun night. Again, I'm sorry it didn't end under green. Pretty much every race will. I don't remember the last race in the Bandit Racing League before this that ended under caution. But we hope you guys enjoyed the final result. We hope you guys enjoyed the race all the way through, and I can't wait to be back next week and the week after, and it'll be a long season. Again, the schedule is posted on the BanditRacingLeague.com website. We'll have it in its entirety next week going forward in a proper graphic for you guys, just to make sure we have all the info for you for next week. We might have a couple of different graphical overhauls as well for next week. So with that, we go to your series partners. We want to thank iRacing, of course, the sim that allows us to put this on. Without iRacing, none of this would be happening. We'd be doing this on, we'd have a cool looking Mario Kart broadcast going, and it would only have 8 drivers and would be very underwhelming. So thank you to iRacing for providing us an opportunity not to have to do that. Bandit Racing League, of course, is what you're watching here tonight, and that's thanks to Apex Sim Racing in part, one of our biggest sponsors tonight. They've jumped on again for this season. Again, use code BANDIT to save 5% off your purchase, and check out some awesome sim racing accessories. You want to get in the Bandit Racing League, you need anything to start getting your sim set up, that is where you go. Or use the link in the description again to save 5% off your purchase. Perfect Shine Auto Spot, as always, one of our great sponsors in the series. Their stuff is, as always, in the description as well. Thank you to Kevin Foster and the entire GFR team for repping Perfect Shine and for being one of the great partners of the series. Track cams for gourmets is what allows us to get these great angles we've had since season number 10 started, and they're an awesome camera package. You can use them for your own purposes as well. Their link to their stuff is in the description. Just make sure when you purchase one of their products, you get permission to use it on a broadcast such as we do. EvanWallMedia.com, he's the guy who makes all of our sweet graphics for these broadcasts. He tuned in here a little bit earlier. He is, for those of you that don't know, one of the former commentators of this series and formerly ran the broadcast on his own. So he has many Evanisms that we like to reference throughout the broadcast, just the same way that I used to have absolutely and my various old-timey analogies. Butt Kicker as well, we want to thank as another great new sponsor for this series. And actually, Cody Welch, in addition to offering some help for many drivers this season, has a little inside, I guess not bet, but a little prize going for the first driver to miss, I believe it's to miss the playoffs this season that runs every race. So kind of a consolation prize for those who take the time, take the dedication to run the series every week. He is going to get them a butt kicker. So a butt kicker, so cool to have them on board again. My dad uses them on his rig for underneath his pedals. It's a really, really cool effect. Just builds that immersion. Such a cool product. Moser Racing, as always, we'll give you a little bit more information about them in future weeks, but they've just signed on to partner with us for the broadcast in the future, so we'll learn more about them going forward. But thank you as a partner of the series. Geezer Authentics, of course, the sponsor of tonight's Geezer Authentics 75 at Daytona. They are your place to go for everything Bandit Racing League merch, and by they I mean us, because it is really a Bandit Racing League construct run by Bill Harkins. But again, you want to get some great merch. It's made very low cost. All proceeds go back to the league. It's just such a great way to support, and you get a cool thing, or really cool stuff in return as well, especially if you're a fan of the drivers who have merch already. So go check it out. Maybe your favorite driver happens to have a cool t-shirt you can go get. And finally, SimRacerHub.com. They are the official software that we post our points to. They're the software that allows us to just tabulate everything. It's where we get our stats from when we reference stuff on the broadcast. Just such a great tool for all things sim racing, and it is awesome to have them on board. With that being said, we are good to go for tonight, folks. That was it, and I hope you guys had a great first week back here in the Bandit Racing League. Again, we're going to have some changes going forward next week into Las Vegas for our second race of the season. We'll announce our sponsor. We'll announce more details throughout the week on social media, but obviously keep in touch with your drivers that have brought you into the series. If you're just watching on YouTube, you don't know anybody watching here in the Bandit Racing League, the links are always below the YouTube video. Go check the description to get all the details you need. And we thank especially those of you who don't come here with backing, don't know any drivers in the league, just come here to get some great racing. I think that's really, really cool. So with that, folks, that'll cap us off for the night. On behalf of the Bandit Racing League, all of our crew here, obviously Chris Ferreira joining me on the broadcast booth. It's a pleasure. Thank you to Bill Harkins, who puts this entire league on. Without this, not only the broadcast, but the league wouldn't be possible. And with that, we will sign off. Have a great rest of your week, folks, and we will see you next week at Las Vegas for round 2 of Bandit Racing League Season 11 here in the Cup Series. Have a great week, folks.